11th, 2022, 17-year-old Mackenzie posts an Instagram photo and texts one of her friends named Rosie. So Mackenzie is texting her friend Rosie, "I am Gia, already liked." I am Gia being the clothing brand, aka this huge clothing brand liked her Instagram picture. Rosie responds, "Oh my God, yes, we're so famous." Mackenzie says, "Bro, we're gonna be famous as soon, before this year ends." This is from July 11th, 2022, just 20 days before the crash where Mackenzie drove her car into a brick building at nearly 100 miles per hour speeds, killing her boyfriend Dom in the front passenger seat and her friend Davion in the back seat. This case has since gone viral again with the release of the new Netflix documentary called The Crash, where both Mackenzie and her friend Rosie had given interviews to the documentary makers, and they do in fact become famous together. Rosie becoming one of the more hated, controversial individuals from the Netflix documentary, with people coming up with theories online that she knew ahead of time that Mackenzie was planning this crash, that she drove by the crash site and didn't call the police that morning, that she was interested in Dom. Like, there are such a wide range of theories that have been circulating, theories upon theories about whether or not Rosie and Mackenzie are doing some sort of big cover-up, and just a lot of questions. Like, why did Rosie refuse to talk to the police, but then she went ahead and did a Netflix documentary? A lot of those questions are going to be answered today. Our researchers reached out to Rosie and Bubba, who was also featured in the Netflix documentary. Bubba was Davion's close friend as well as Rosie's boyfriend, and we asked all those pertinent questions. But more importantly, we also asked what actually happened that night. They were one of the last few people to see Dom and Davion alive for the last time, and they answered all of our questions. So with that, welcome to part 2 of the Mackenzie case. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support Change the Game for Dom Foundation and Davion Flanagan's Memorial Scholarship Fund. Both GoFundMes are run by the families of the victims, and we're going to include all of those plus all the information regarding Dom and Davion's law, which aims to update Ohio's Son of Sam laws in order to prevent violent offenders from profiting off their crimes. All of that is going to be included in our show notes. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's team of dedicated researchers. We'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Today's episode involves mentions of illicit drug usage, reckless driving, driving while intoxicated, self-exit, and possible domestic violence. We did pull the FOIA for this case and literally went through tens of thousands of pages of text messages, just detective incident reports, autopsy reports, photos, videos, Snapchat data, Instagram DM data, text messages, like tens of thousands of pages of text messages. So naturally, quotes and statements may be condensed for brevity. There is also a lot of discourse surrounding this case, and in order to explain the entirety of the case and the internet reception of things that have been released to the public, we are going to go over a lot of opinions, comments, and speculations made by netizens. They do not represent our own opinions. So with that being said, I will say that this case has gained a lot of attention with the Netflix documentary, The Crash, and we went through the entire case file. So this is going to be a pretty lengthy series. The Netflix documentary was about an hour and a half, and we've gone through, it's like 5,000 videos, 5,000 separate photos, tens of thousands of pages of text messages, 97 jail calls totaling up to like 20 hours, hundreds of pages of police documents, 39 body cam and dash cam videos. We went through it all and we're going to break it all down. This is going to be a 5-part series. In the first part, please go watch that first, the previous episode. We went over the crash itself as well as the relationships of everybody in the car, the relationship dynamic, and generally what people believe happened that night. In this part, we're going to be breaking down the Netflix documentary, the social media response, as well as what we asked Rosie and Bubba and what they've responded and all of the things that happened. It was like a 2-hour long conversation asking them pretty much every single question that the internet had for them. In part 3, we're going to be breaking down the main relationships within the Sharilla family. There's been a lot of allegations and rumors and just conspiracy theories circulating online that Mackenzie had a very strange relationship with her dad where she would text him in the middle of the night asking for warm milk, and people think warm milk is a code for something else. And there's just a lot to unpack there. That's going to be part 3. In part 4, it's going to be the entire breakdown, the journey of Mackenzie and Dom's relationship through their text messages from 2020 and then leading up to the crash. And part 5 will be all the jail calls as well as Mackenzie's prison girlfriends who have come out on TikTok to talk about what their experience was like dating Mackenzie in prison. And she would call herself, allegedly, she said that people called her Shirilla the Killer. So with that being said, let's get started. November 4th, 2022, 4 months after the crash that killed Dom and Davian, Mackenzie is on the way back from physical therapy. She's in the passenger seat. Her mom, Natalie, is driving, and they get pulled over. Mackenzie has her phone out. She's like recording all of this. Her camera is pointed primarily at the side mirror of the passenger side car. So you can see an officer in the mirror walk up to the car. He says, "Hi, Mackenzie," and snatches the phone out of Mackenzie's hand. And you hear her whining, "Don't touch my phone. You're under arrest." "Why?" "We have a warrant for your arrest. Come on out." "Why?" They get her out of the car. They cuff her and they put her in the back of the police car.
Wait, they arrested her in the middle of the road?
Yeah, they pulled over on that.
What?
Yeah.
So did she know that, or she thought it was a traffic stop?
It seems like they thought it was a traffic stop.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're under arrest for aggravated murder ×2. Okay.
The officer starts taking off one of her handcuffs.
"Could you please be careful taking this one off so it doesn't break the bracelet, please?"
You got it. You got it.
And she starts sniffling while thanking him. It's interesting. This whole bracelet thing becomes like a whole point of contention. Again, as she's getting booked, the officers are talking to her.
"Okay, Mackenzie, I'm gonna take your handcuffs off. I need like all the jewelry and everything to come off, okay?"
"I can't wear any of it."
"No, I need you to take it off while you're in jail right now. Unfortunately, everything's gonna have to come off right now once we know, when the detective comes back and we know for sure what's going on. Everything's gonna be bagged up here. It's not going anywhere."
She starts trying to take off her bracelets, and they look like those like rubber Live Strong bracelets that used to be big back in the day, but I don't think they're Live Strong. They're like the rubber bracelets. And later it's been explained from Mackenzie's side and Mackenzie's friends and family that these bracelets were all sentimentally connected to Dom, and she hadn't taken them off since the crash, and that's why she was crying. But a lot of people have interpreted as, how are you crying about a bracelet when you're being arrested for murder ×2? Either way, she's very distraught about taking them off. They notice that she also has extensions, which she informs them that she cannot take them out unless they have pliers.
What are the green, are those extensions clips? You're gonna need to take those out.
I can't take them out. They're like in my, they're like, unless you have pliers, we can get them out.
After Mackenzie's arrest, there's some interesting body cam footage that was in the FOIA file. Her dad, Steve, marches down to the police station, and he honestly looks like a chill dad, right? So he's got like a kind of white-haired beard with like a full head of like whitish gray hair, and he dresses super relaxed. He's an art teacher. He almost dresses kind of like a kid. I don't know how to describe it. He's not overly stuffy. He's not wearing polos. It doesn't look like he's obsessed with golfing on the weekends. He seems like he's a little bit more creative in that aspect. And I don't mean that as a compliment. I don't really ever want to compliment him, but he walks into the police station. Obviously, understandably, this is a highly emotionally charged moment, but he's using his hands to passionately yell at the police officers.
"I need to speak to my daughter because you guys aren't allowed to speak to her at all. That's from the lawyer. He does not want you guys speaking to her. And I can get him on the phone and he can tell you that over the phone if that works, or I can go in and tell her not to open her mouth. But how you guys did this on the weekend is just, what all you do is go, hey, there's a warrant for her. We would have brought her right down here with no problem, but you hit it. It's just unbelievable. I mean, 18.
So the warrant was issued today, so we executed it today.
If he had to roll out the whole mask to pick up an 18-year-old girl who can hardly walk out of a hospital visit, it's just beyond me.
Yeah, Steve, lots of things are apparently beyond you, like common sense and good parenting, opinion that I strongly hold. Steve aggressively asks the officers,
Am I going to be allowed to have a 2-minute conversation with her?
You cannot talk to her about these issues, no.
Why doesn't she get a
Well,
phone
she has
call?
legal
If you arrest her, why
representatives.
don't she get a phone call?
which, like, goddamn, your daughter is not special in anyone else's eyes but your own. Like, this is the process that they have to go through. The officer has to explain and spell it out to Steve Shirilla. She was just brought in. They're going to process her. As soon as they get the time for her to make a phone call, she'll be able to make a phone call. We just need to advise her that she has a lawyer. She's 18 years old, and she could speak that.
She's a dumb 18-year-old that just turned 18,
Well,
and you guys are no. They're all the kids nowadays are dumb.
Sure, Steve, if that helps you sleep better at night, okay? Just know that most of us didn't get into a fatal car crash that took 2 lives at 18 years old. 17, basically 18, but I digress. Steve continues angrily, telling the officers,
And these guys are going to take advantage of her. She's not allowed to speak to you guys. I'm telling you that.
her
from
attorney
lawyer.
can call us.
Don't ask her any questions.
the officer straight up walks away, closes the door while Steve is still screaming. Steve Shirilla is still screaming. He's like, don't ask her any questions. She's not allowed to speak to you. The officer is clearly unbothered, and this is through his body cam. So it's like we just have the perspective of his chest. Yeah. And he just walks to the back room where all the other cops are. He walks to his desk, and he says, ay, ay, ay. And he grabs his bag of Cool Ranch Dorito and starts snacking.
Ay.
Wait,
Yeah. Yeah.
he just removed himself from that.
Yeah, he's like, ay, ay, ay. And just started snacking on Doritos in the back. I just think the Shirilla parents, the Netflix documentary, we'll get into it in a second, but they are just like massive complainers. They like to complain about everything. Even on Netflix, they're complaining. I don't know why they needed 9 or 10 cars to roll up on an 18, 17-year-old girl. Prosecution needed a show and they wanted to put on a pageant. In the Netflix documentary, Mackenzie's parents also say, Natalie and Steve also say, we were just like in shock. Murder? So they're in shock that she was arrested for murder. Not reckless driving, not vehicular homicide, murder. Mm-hmm. Steve says, good luck proving it. There's no, what proof? What proof do they have of any of this? I know it's become almost like an online joke at this point that documentary filmmakers love to give us an empty chair when introducing their next guest to talk, and then having that guest dramatically sit down on the chair before looking directly into the camera, breaking the fourth wall, and then starting with their opening line of like, let me tell you about that night, you know? That is exactly what they do with Mackenzie in the Netflix documentary. But the part that the internet is freaking out over is not the slightly played out dramatic empty chair sit down, but rather the way Mackenzie sits down. She walks into frame, prison uniform, hair tied up with a bun the size of a cantaloupe on top of her head. She's a full face of makeup, and she almost like pops out her hip, arches her back as she sits down on the chair. She clasps her hands in front of her and almost like smirks to the camera. Like it's just like a very weird, she's looking directly at us. The internet points out it's just, she looks like she's on a coffee date rather than a documentary interview about how she killed 2 people. She sits down. The producer asks her, so could you tell me why you want to give this interview, Mackenzie? I've never spoke before. I never told my side of the story. I understand there's many different sides to the story and different perspectives, but I just want to say my truth, and I just know myself, and I know I'm not a monster. What do you think happened to the crash? Through all the evidence that has been presented, the most logical speculation seems to be a medical emergency. This like sentence itself is, she sat in her cell memorizing this from her attorney, because I have read through so many thousands upon thousands of pages of Mackenzie texting and audio messaging people, and she does not speak in this manner. This is my lawyer told me to say this for this documentary. How does a medical emergency account for the control of the car? So she's like, the most logical reason is a medical emergency. So they're like, How are you able to control the car then if it's a medical emergency? And she says, I'm unsure, because I have no recollection of that morning, but I know nothing about it was intentional. The interview with Mackenzie is short, or at least the included parts with Mackenzie. I mean, she's not really saying anything of value other than trying to convince the viewers at home that she's a good person, which, I mean, I guess it's up to you to decide, right? But she says she still has no memory. She thinks it's a medical emergency. What medical emergency? She doesn't know, because she doesn't remember anything. But she says she's grown and she's remorseful for all the things that she clearly doesn't remember. She says about her relationship with Dom, we were just 2 kids messing with each other. And then as the years went on and we stayed together and grew closer, we would have probably been married by now. He was just so protective and loving over me. I just wanted to heal him and he wanted to heal me. We were partners. We just took care of each other. I mean, we argued. We got back together. We broke up. We got back together. It was rocky, but it was good. It was just, we were in love, young love. She says it's really hard every day here. I try to wake up and be the best person I can be every day, stay out of trouble. There's not a moment that doesn't pass where I don't think about them or I don't feel a pain in my chest that it's still like the void of losing them. And near the end, the producer asks her, is there any last word that you'd like to say? And she turns to her right and she's like looking at someone off the camera. It's her lawyer. They let us know. They're like, she's looking at her lawyer, right? Her lawyer was present. She goes, Did I touch on that the right? Okay, so everything is like you think. I don't want to force anything and just say too much or sound crazy. I just want to make sure that I'm big on the no intent. There was no intent whatsoever there. I have excessive amounts of remorse for Dom, Davion, both of their families. This was not intentional, and I will do everything I can to prove that to the world and the families. And that's it.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Is that like a fourth wall breaking moment? Like
That was so weird. And the only thing the internet can really get out of this is, first of all, the sit down of her sitting on that chair was crazy. Her hair is crazy. And the fact that she said, I'm big on the no intent is just like people are having their minds blown on TikTok over that line. Yeah. What do you mean you're big on the no intent? What do you mean by that? The Netflix documentary also sat down with Dom and Davion's family members. They focused a lot on the pain that the family members had to endure losing Dom and Davion, and it felt very transparent in the sense of the families of both those boys felt really vulnerable in sharing their journey of finding out that they lost their babies, essentially their children, to then feeling relieved that at least another child was able to survive, that Mackenzie was alive and in surgery. There was almost like a relief.
Really?
Because it's like, okay, at least, you know, and then feeling confused because they're like, wait, nothing is adding up about this car crash. Like, it doesn't make sense. Her behavior isn't making any sense. They're not getting the answers that they so desperately need and deserve. And then they see this evidence and then all of the complicated just evolution of all these feelings. Dom and Davion's sisters have been using their platforms to showcase Dom and Davion's lives as well. And they were both included in the documentary. And it's just so frustrating to see the grace and composure that both Dom and Davion's family members held in this entire documentary, juxtaposed to the Sharilla parents. Mackenzie's parents, Natalie and Steve, who come off incredibly tone-deaf, entitled, and just fucking dense. I don't really know how else to put it, okay? They just are not likable either, and they seem like enablers. The documentary also brought in a few of Mackenzie's friends who have since gone viral, and there were just a lot of moments where it feels like just watching the documentary, from the perspective of just watching the documentary, it feels like you're on a different planet from the people that are on the screen talking, because you're like, there's no way they just said that. There's no way any of this is real. For example, one of Mackenzie's friends, Faith, states in the documentary that essentially she cannot see Mackenzie intentionally crashing that car because she can't imagine Mackenzie ever hurting herself. Like, that's just not Mackenzie. She says Kenzie loves herself a lot. She wouldn't even have a McChicken with me at McDonald's because she cared so much about her own health. I don't feel like somebody like that who cares so much about their body and so much about themselves and, you know, how they're doing would be suicidal. Apparently, a McChicken from McDonald's is some sort of litmus test now. The documentary also brought in two of Mackenzie's friends that were there at the gathering that Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion left. And that was the drive home where the car crashed. Rosie and Bubba, they were there and they were interviewed. But before we do that, let's run through the night of July 30th and the early morning of July 31st, 2022. Mackenzie and Davion had both graduated high school, so they're going to like a series of graduation parties. Now, in part one, I told you guys that Davion is staying with Dom while his parents are out of town on vacation because he just started a new job. He couldn't go on the family vacation. Mackenzie is basically living with Dom, even though she's 17. So naturally, it makes sense that the three of them decide to go to a few grad parties together. They live together, they take one car. Mackenzie and Davion graduated. Dom is dating Mackenzie. The first stop is Kelly's. They get to this girl named Kelly's house at around 10 p.m. Kelly speaks with detectives and she tells them, okay, it really wasn't like a crazy grad party or anything. My mom was there the entire time. In fact, her mom is in the interview.
I think it was like the kind of party they were expecting, because I told them like not a lot of people are going to be here. Like it's just like close friends and we're just chilling out, like, you know.
And she says Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion get there and they're just kind of sitting off to the side for a little bit before Mackenzie asks Kelly, hey, come here.
And she was like, do you trip? Which meaning like, do you do acid? And I was like, no, I don't do that. And like, I was like, especially like my mom's here, like I don't want to do that. Like I feel like she was like asking, she didn't say the words, but I felt like she was asking me if I wanted to trip with them at my house.
Kelly kind of thinks it's weird because Mackenzie knows that her mom is home. And like, that's just not the vibe right now. That's just not the energy. So she's not trying to do that right now, right here. The conversation pivots, but Kelly still hears Mackenzie and Dom making plans about maybe going to some guy named Mark's house and saying things like, should we do it tonight? Should we do it tonight? So it sounds like to Kelly that they're debating whether or not they want to do shrooms or trip or whatever. And then within 20 minutes, they leave. And Kelly's like, she gets it. She says that she thinks the three of them were maybe expecting like a party. And it was just more so Kelly and her friends hanging out and her mom was home. And it was just more like a chill gathering. So they leave Kelly's and they actually head over to a different guy's house, Paul's house. The police interview Paul. And he says he's technically Mackenzie's friend. So they're just trying to get like, how do you guys all know each other? And he's like, well, okay. So Paul is best friends with Rosie, who's in the documentary.
Okay.
And Rosie started hanging out with Mackenzie a few months ago. But also Paul has his own connection with Mackenzie because senior year, they both tried to he wanted to be homecoming king. She was trying to be homecoming queen. So he says that she really helped boost his confidence during that time. So he's got his own like friendship with Mackenzie. So he's closest with Mackenzie. He's not really close with Dom. It seems like he's familiar with Davion, if not friends with Davion, right? Now, Mackenzie just happens to bring Dom everywhere she goes, and Davion is currently also staying with Dom. And Rosie's boyfriend, Bubba, he's super close with Davion. I'm going to make it clear later, but just like hold on to it. And Paul says everyone loves Davion, which, side note, Kelly, the host of the grad party right before, she says the same thing. Kelly says about Davion.
All I know is that he is a good kid. Like, he just tries to make friends everywhere. Like, I know that he was just always trying to do something, get out the house, be with his friends, and just be himself.
It's just something consistent that I've observed throughout all of the police interviews. Everyone goes out of their way to explain how much Davion meant to them, and it doesn't feel forced or calculated, but more so I think he just like had that big of an impact on everyone. So unprompted, a lot of people will just tell the police, like, I mean, he's like an incredible person. Just so friendly, so chill. Like, everybody loves him. Davion's mom says, I would always say that he had an old soul because he was just wise beyond his years, just in a lot of ways because he's had so much experience in his short life. And again, we're going to go in depth on Davion's family and what they've said, their foundation, in a later episode. So one interesting thing to note is Paul tells investigators that he refuses to ever ride in Mackenzie's car. In general, she's just a horrible driver. The police are like, what do you mean by that?
I always knew she would get in fights, like her neighbor, she got in her fight with her neighbor about zooming past the stop sign. One time at the carnival, she was going to drive me home, but I was like, no.
Sorry.
It's okay. I just said, no, I'm good.
Paul says even Rosie, the one from the documentary, told him, like, don't get in the car with Mackenzie. She's not a good driver.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, tell us about the gathering, because they leave your house and that's when Mackenzie crashes the car.
Oh, they were at Paul's house till 5 a.m?
Yes.
Okay.
So Paul is like, okay, well, that whole day, before they came over, I was at work the entire day. So when I finally got back home, I was really tired, but I had to do something. That's like the vibe he gives. Like, I had to do something because my parents were out of town.
And I had 6 people over, so in my opinion, that was not a party. There was no party activities going on because I don't have enough friends to throw a banger, I'm going to be honest.
He says it was him, so it's Paul, another friend named Nina, Rosie's boyfriend Bubba. Bubba is close friends with Davion. Rosie is now hanging out a lot with Mackenzie, and Mackenzie brought Dom, so it's 7 people. Paul, Nina, Rosie, Bubba, Davion, Mackenzie, and Dom. Rosie, Nina, and Bubba show up at around 11 p.m. Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion get there closer to midnight because they were at like a different grad party. They were just grad party hopping. And it was a chill night for about an hour. Paul says, earlier that day he was kind of in a shitty mood because he did also his whole car broke down. So he was working, his car broke down. He's not in the best mood. So he decides after chilling for an hour that he's just going to go to sleep. So he goes upstairs, leaves everybody downstairs because his parents aren't home. They're out of town. He goes upstairs and, quote,
I go upstairs at around 1. They're still up and they're still watching. I remember hearing South Park playing really loudly. And then I went downstairs again at 2, 3 a.m. to pee, sometime like that. And I saw Kenzie asleep on my couch in my front room when I saw that. But yeah, I don't think there was any fighting or anything like that going on at all. Or at least that's what I saw.
He says they all did smoke weed. They talked about doing shrooms, but they didn't end up doing the shrooms. So he's like, I don't know. Like, I went upstairs. When I came down at like 2, 3 a.m., Mackenzie was asleep, and I didn't witness any fighting or anything weird. The next morning, he wakes up at around 10 a.m. to Rosie calling him and telling him that there had been a car crash. When authorities arrive to the car crash, they extract Mackenzie. They find in her possession, on her person, a baggie filled with shrooms. And there are messages that police get between Rosie and Mackenzie that night. So before Mackenzie shows up to Paul's house, 6 p.m., Mackenzie asks Rosie about going to Paul's. Do you think it's cool to trip there? So Mackenzie's like, do you think it's, can I go and trip there? Rosie says, yeah. Okay, I'm trusting you. His parents aren't tweaks like Bubba. They would probably let him have people over. Mackenzie is unsure if she's actually going to end up at Paul's, so she's still kind of debating. And then she's like, is it okay to trip there? Rosie's like, for sure. Rosie texts, could we still buy off Dom if you guys don't want to trip? You should come hang out for like a little smoke or whatever. Okay, bet. Like, what do you need? We might come. So Rosie says, yes, me, Paul, Nina, and Bubba need them, and some bud. Do you not want to trip? Did you guys already trip at the zoo today? And Mackenzie's saying, like, we're not really sure because it's already so late. Dom says no, and we were going to, but we didn't. But yeah, we can give you guys that. Mackenzie texts at 10:24 p.m. We're probably going to come. So like last minute, she's like, okay, we're going to come. Rosie says, okay, cool. And so we want $40 worth of bud, and Bubba wants 3, and I want 2.5. Nina wants 1.5, and Paul wants 2.5. So the grams, it's referenced to shrooms. So they want $40 worth of weed, and then everybody wants like different amounts of shrooms. Rosie is saying Nina claims she just wants a gram. And then Mackenzie is saying, bruh, tell her more. Like a gram is, it sounds like she's saying a gram is not going to get you there. So Rosie responds, okay, fine. She said like 1.5. Okay, bet. Okay, we're all at Paul's. I'm about to come. Okay, send me Paul's address. I'm on the way. So they send the address. They meet up. They get to Paul's house. And like all we have once everybody is at Paul's house is what everybody says happens at Paul's house. And Paul is like, I was asleep for most of it. And then at 5:30 a.m., Davion, remember he has the Life 360 app connected to his friends. His app shows him leaving Paul's house. It's Mackenzie driving, Dom in the front passenger seat, Davion in the back. 5 minutes later, the car slams into the building at nearly 100 miles per hour. A few things to note about this timeline. A lot of people do think it's odd that they left Paul's house at 5:30 in the morning. It's not like Paul's parents were coming home, so they're like, oh, we gotta all get out of here before my parents come back. It just seems like a very early time for them to get up and get out. It's been reported to detectives that Mackenzie fell asleep at some point. She doesn't necessarily strike me as the accommodating type of person who will wake up from her slumber to drive Dom and Davion home. Or maybe she woke up and was like, I'm uncomfortable, I want to go sleep in a bed. I don't know. I mean, some people also think she's not really, doesn't strike them as a early bird. So why go home at 5:30?
Do you know if they have jobs or any places to go to?
Yeah, so they had places to go to, but all kind of within each other. It doesn't seem that Mackenzie and Dom had any strong plans that morning, but Davion was actually going to go hang out with Bubba again to fix up Bubba's car.
Okay.
It's like actually a whole thing because he was going to go straight to Bubba's house with Bubba, but then last minute, Davion was like, I'm actually going to go back to Dom so I can shower and clean up a little.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's just an odd time for them to leave, which has led people to believe and speculate and theorize that it would make sense for them to leave if Mackenzie and Dom were fighting. And they're like, you know what, like this fight is getting big, like let's go home and fight in private. And since Davion is staying with Dom, he ends up going with them. On the drive home, they're still arguing. Mackenzie, in retaliation out of rage, drives the car full force into the building. But the problem with this is every single person present at the gathering that night state that they did not witness any fighting between Mackenzie and Dom. Some people think they're flat out lying. Others think maybe they are telling the truth, but that doesn't mean a fight never occurred. Whether it's just on the way home or whether there was a fight earlier that night and it just wasn't felt or witnessed at Paul's house, but it resumed in the car. Judging by Mackenzie's text messages and Instagram DMs to Dom, I will say that she clearly seems like an instigator who knows how to escalate a fight in record time. She's kind of like a bomb. She seems to go off at the smallest thing and it's very explosive. So I could understand how a lot of people theorize that a fight broke out once they got into the car on the way home. Davion's friend who hosted his vigil goes to the police and he reports, and it makes sense. So he's saying like, I'm on Davion's Life 360 app. And he's like, because, they're all just trying to grapple with what happened. And I think Davion's friends had their own special set of grief, because I think with Dom and Mackenzie, a lot of Dom's family and friends were just, it was a lot of like, what could we have done to prevent, like, did we know this relationship was this toxic? What were the signs between their relationship? For Davion, it was more like, it's almost shocking, because why was Davion in the car? Like, there was no, he's not, like, they're not that close of friends. It's just, it was more, I think, abrupt.
Yeah.
They're trying to make sense of it. And one of the friends is telling the officers.
And it makes sense with that app. It's just like, if the kid was in the back seat, they were dating, they're having problems, like they're fighting, she got mad. She's always like, there's lots of people that have come up to me and said they've always fought, like everybody. Like I can probably pull a lot of witnesses to say that and testify for that. They've always fought, they've always argued over retarded stuff, and maybe they were fighting, they were on the psychedelics, and she hit the gas, the floor, and it shows you that they literally hit the gas right when they got into that area. They were driving fine for like 15 minutes.
Right.
How all of a sudden you drive good for 15 minutes, you drive bad for like 2 minutes,
Right.
and you're 5 minutes away from the house.
He thinks they got into a fight and Davion just happened to be in the backseat.
It's just crazy and it's tragic that like one good kid, like, I mean, they're all good kids, but one good kid that just didn't do any of that stuff and just was in the wrong crowd at that time.
And he's talking about his friend Davion. Mm-hmm. They described that they feel Davion was in the car as, quote,
so it was like almost like he was like a hostage in the car.
Because they can't really understand. Another friend comes in and is telling the officers, like, I was on vacation in Colorado and I sent Davion a picture. And he said to that picture, like, he's responding in the car. So they're going through the Life 360 and they're like, oh my God, he was in the car when he responded to his friend's Snapchat picture of Colorado. Crazy. So they think, this is their theory, that Davion's friends who showed the Life 360 app to the police, they're like, Mackenzie and Dom start fighting because that's before the crash. And Davion is Snapchat responding to his friend. Mm-hmm. So his friend had sent him a picture of the Colorado mountains, and then Davion responds like, damn, what the fuck, that go crazy, because it looked so beautiful. Mm-hmm. The friend tells the police they think Davion was probably on his phone because it's awkward when the couple are fighting, and so it's awkward to just sit there, so he was on his phone. 2 hours later, that friend responds back to Davion, on God, bro, we walked like 2 hours in a thunderstorm in the dark in the middle of the park. Cole said he saw a mountain lion. But by that time, Davion is gone. And like I said, another thing to note is Mackenzie was the only one wearing her seatbelt, which netizens found very interesting because she rarely ever is seen wearing a seatbelt. But that night she is, and Dom and Davion aren't, so people theorize that they were trying to save their lives. The prosecutor even agrees with that theory, stating, I think the boys were trying to save their lives. I think Dom and Davion were yanking on the wheel, grabbing the gear shift, and it was just too late. Dom's sister says the car was the weapon, and it was just exactly like she took a gun and shot Dominic and Davion. Davion's little sister says, the most important thing I want people to know about Davion is that he's not just some backseat cargo. He was somebody's kid, and he was my brother, and he was a brother to me and my sister. Mackenzie's actions after the crash have also been heavily scrutinized for good reason. She keeps reaching out to Dom and Davion's family members in the most bizarre way. So she doesn't reach out for a long time, and then when she finally does, she's like, don't hate me. Basically.
Don't hate me.
Yeah. So
What?
In the 2,000-page Instagram file that we got from the FOIA request, Mackenzie is messaging a relative of Dom's, his cousin, September 22nd, 2022. So this is like a month, 2 months?
1.5, yeah, 2 months.
After the crash, Mackenzie reaches out to his cousin and writes, hey, I know we didn't talk much and I completely understand if you hate me. I hate myself too. I just wanted to apologize to you because I know you guys were close. I hope you don't think it was my fault. I never did this on purpose. I wish he was here every single day. He should be here. It should have been me. I don't want any sympathy, but I just wanted to apologize. Which is like kind of a presumptuous thing of her to say, like, I don't want any sympathy, for her to already think that she's going to get sympathy, considering you're reaching out to Dom's cousin. But she messages again. I also wanted to let you know that I was completely sober. I know there's been fucked up rumors. I don't know if you've heard them, but they're all fucking not true. They're just making me look so bad, like I would hurt my baby on purpose. I never would. I would have sacrificed myself in a heartbeat for him. Dom's cousin responds, "How fast were you going? I would really love to know the details. I don't know if you're allowed to share that info or no, but I would appreciate if you could share some detail. There's just no justification to be going 90 miles per hour if that is even the correct speed. Also, something that doesn't sit right with me is that you were sharing irrelevant things right when it happened, reposting and liking things, like, responding to the modeling agency and stuff. You haven't posted anything about Davion, and you're just now starting to post stuff about Dom. And I'm not here to bash you. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, thank you for the apology. None of this will ever feel real. I just can't believe this has happened. If you want, you can call me. I don't know if you can hear my voice, though. I'll try to make you feel better about it. And to be honest, I don't really remember the accident for some reason. All I remember is turning on the street and my vision goes dark. And it's really weird because I drive that street like almost every single day, and I have never once went that fast on that street. I can't say exactly how fast I was going, but it's not what the Life 360 says.
What does it say? 90?
Yeah, I think it was faster. So
How would she know then?
yeah. Also, everything would indicate that she's going fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like the way the car crashed, like, what do you mean it's not? I don't really have any pictures of Davion, but I've been texting his family, and Dom is honestly affecting me a lot more because I was with him every single day for 4 years straight. He was my best friend and my soulmate. Mackenzie tells Dom's cousin, and you're allowed to be mad. I get it. I'm mad at myself too. What do you, like, she's like giving her permission to be mad at her? To which the cousin states, like, yeah, but you could still post Dom's GoFundMe, Davion's GoFundMe. Like, I think a lot of people were just uncomfortable with the fact that Mackenzie's going around saying, oh, I'm so remorseful. It should have been me. It should have been me. And she's responding to modeling agencies, doesn't post anything about Dom and Davion for a long time, doesn't post their GoFundMes, doesn't post anything to help, just like nothing. Mm-hmm. And then Mackenzie says, I'm not allowed to post anything. My mom is not letting me.
Didn't the mom respond to the modeling agency?
Uh-huh. There are text messages between Mackenzie and Dom's mom is asking her, what made you start speeding? Mackenzie just responds, I don't remember the accident. All I remember is turning on the street and then my vision fading to black. I wish I could remember it. It would make me feel a little bit better. What's the last thing you remember? I remember turning onto the street and then my vision fades to black and it really kills me not being able to remember anything. I promise you I would tell you. I've been asking my therapist why I don't remember and she said it's because of trauma, but I'm going to try to get hypnotized and make myself remember. Now, I will say that Mackenzie sounds incredibly exhausting to be around for Dom's family while they're going through likely the most tragic moment of their lives that has been caused by Mackenzie. She's busy messaging them, asking for things to help with her own grief. She's explaining to Dom's cousin that Dom's mom isn't ready to see her yet. So Mackenzie's like getting impatient. She's telling Dom's cousin, like, I don't know why Dom's mom doesn't want to see me. Like, she says she's not ready, but like, she seems like she's getting impatient. She says to Dom's cousin, we talk every single day though. Talking about Dom's mom. It makes me feel a little bit better that she doesn't hate me. I don't know, she's kind of short, but she's telling me that she's really sad, but she asks how I'm doing and stuff. Dom's cousin is like, yeah, that's understandable. This is so hard. Mackenzie says, I've been trying to go to Dom's house because I just want to lay in his bed. So as Dom's parents are grieving, she's texting his mom nonstop, asking to be allowed into Dom's house to lay on his bed.
So she said Dom's mom doesn't hate her.
Yeah.
Is that true?
No. She hates her.
Is it just Dom's mom trying to get information?
Yes.
Okay.
Dom's mom is a criminal defense attorney. Yeah, very smart woman.
No way.
Yeah. Very smart woman, but still beyond expectations for in this moment of grief to try and get things in writing. Like, she was very strong for that, yeah. She's sending Christine, so that's Dom's mom. She's sending Christine Russo messages like, it's been really rough. I've been crying all day, every day. We're going to get through this together. Sending love. Another message from Mackenzie reads, I will always be here for you. And when I'm out of the hospital, I can take care of you whenever you need. Another message reads, when I get out of here, I want to give you my bracelet that I made for you, but it's okay if you don't want to see me. I understand. She's just like further victimizing Dom's mom, texting them nonstop to get confirmation that the family doesn't hate her. Well, newsflash, they probably fucking do, and rightfully so. Later, because Mackenzie's not getting the responses she wants, she texts Dom's mom, I just feel like you guys all hate me, crying emoji. We don't understand. That's what Christine texts back. That's been the hardest part for me too. None of this feels real. When I get out of here, can I just go to Dom's house? I just want to lay in his bed or on the floor so I could smell him and maybe take some hoodies home. I also want to see you and give you a hug. I love you guys so much. It's interesting that she's so hell-bent on going into Dom's house to lay on his bed. It's such an odd request that nobody believes it. August 18th, she's texting Dom's mom. Do you have Dom's phone? Really want Dom's playlist, and I want to see the pictures he had of us on his phone. Which feels a little weird.
Yeah.
Dom's mom responds, we will figure it all out when you're out of the hospital. Mackenzie says, I would really like to see you and give you a hug and a bracelet. I brought him flowers for his room and at the memorial. If it's too soon, I totally understand. Everybody needs to grieve. I'm at his grave. They let me out of rehab because there's nothing they can really do with me until I can walk again. Eventually, Mackenzie is released from the hospital and she lets Dom's mom know, but she's also just like making the entire thing about herself again. Mackenzie texts Dom's mom, hey, I'm out of the hospital, but also don't let anyone know. Please don't tell people I'm home though, because there's a couple of people that are threatening to hurt me and saying they have plans for me.
What?
No one's trying to kill you, Mackenzie. Dom's mom responds, that's terrible, and I'm not talking to anyone. Who's doing that? Mackenzie responds, this kid named Tyler Proctor and a few people I don't even know. They keep messaging me on fake numbers and on Snapchat telling me really fucked up stuff, and it's really making this hard for me because I would never do anything to hurt any of them on purpose, especially Dom. Oh, and then remember Blair? Remember in part 1?
Blair, yes.
Blair is Dom's best guy friend. And because Blair and Dom were hanging out and Mackenzie was upset, she was like, oh, go take Blair's private parts in your butt. Like, she was just saying some crazy stuff. She was threatening to kill Blair with a baseball bat. She texts Dom's mom. Would you be able to send me Blair's number? I want to send him a video of him and Dom. I feel like it'll make him happy. I also just found a bag of Dom's old clothes from when he was a little bit younger. They all smell like him. And what is the radio station that you guys always used to play when I would be over at your house? It just, I don't know, just feels weird that she wants Blair's number. Like maybe she wants to make sure that Blair isn't saying weird things to the police or that, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, why do you care about Blair? You threatened to kill him with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
She keeps going on and on about going into Dom's house and saying things like, yeah, my purse is over there, but I don't even care, to be honest. I just want to go to his house to lay on the floor and take some of the clothes that he loves so that I could wear them. Why do you have to mention that you don't even care if you don't even care?
Exactly.
Which, by the way, she and her parents both try to ask the police to let Mackenzie into the house.
Oh my God.
To get her purse. And the cops are like, well, your purse was in the car. Yeah. When the crash happened, we already gave that back. And she was like, no, not that purse. It's Christian Dior. And it's like, girl, no, it's DHgate. And also, you're weird. Yeah.
They want something else.
Yeah, I think they want something else, but yeah. Mackenzie asks Dom's mom not to delete anything on Dom's phone and says, whenever you're ready to see me, I just want to go through his phone and see everything that he has of us.
What?
Yeah, she brings up going into Dom's house again. She's like, you don't even have to see me. To which Dom's mom has the level of patience I cannot comprehend. She responds, I don't think you understand how incredibly hard this has been on me. I haven't gone in there except to get clothes to bury him in. So for months, Mackenzie is just exhausting about it. Clearly, they don't want you in the house, considering the circumstances that I think most people with a functioning brain would probably understand and grasp. Even if Mackenzie feels herself this is a medical accident, it is still understandable why Dom's family would not want to be around her. Because you knew you had a medical condition. Why were you driving? Why are you always driving while high, as per your own social media post, if you were diagnosed with POTS and you are symptomatic of fainting? But Mackenzie messages Dom's mom, I'm really stressed out about people moving my things or making it look different than it was when Dom lived there. My top priority is just being able to go inside of that house and just be there for the day. It hurts that everybody but me is allowed in the house. It already hurts seeing all of his friends there at night spending time with you, but it hurts even worse seeing I'm the only one not allowed in his house that I spent the most time in. I need to get in there for multiple things that I have in there. I don't know why I'm not trusted to be in the house I spent 90% of my time and slept at every night. To which Dom's mom later tells the police,
or she was begging me to go in the house. That's what's even creepier.
And the police are like, oh yeah, Mackenzie's parents were asking us to go into the house to get Mackenzie's stuff. And so Dom's mom is, that's what's even creepier, that they're going to call you guys about getting her stuff.
She said to me, well, do you think Angelo's going to go in there and destroy my things? This is what she said. And I said, no, Angelo's not going to destroy anything. And I said, I can always get together what you have or something like that. She goes, but I want to go in there. And she goes, can't you just sneak me in and not tell anybody? And I just want to spend the day there because November 14th is our anniversary. And I'm just like, I can't even walk in there.
Makes you think what's in there that she wants.
So bad.
Mackenzie is also sending some wacky text messages like, Dom always told me he would want me to be happy, even if it wasn't with him. Mind you, she's sending this to Dom's mom. I can't even imagine. Like, I can't imagine. I'm not even going to go there, but it's just so uncalled for. Like, genuinely shocking.
Yeah. Wow.
And she says, that's impossible because I can't be happy without my soulmate. Then she goes back to talking about, quote, yeah, I get harassed literally every single day. Shit sucks. You know, is there any way I can get Dom's phone or just go on it or something? Because I need to block people because they're commenting fucked up shit on his TikTok. Dom has videos posted on his TikTok and I commented, I miss you, and people are harassing me on there. Specifically, this one girl that has been harassing me our whole relationship, and I just want to delete her comment and block her. Then she adds pressure to Dom's mom, saying things like, I really can't tell if you hate me or not. I feel like if you don't hate me, you would let me come over or be there for you. Or you would tell everybody that they shouldn't hate me, but I feel like you just don't like me. And I wish you would just tell me so I could stop bugging you. Dom's mom responds, this is all emotional. I can't tell anyone to do anything. I don't hate you. Gosh, I'm having a tough time with just not having my son. You can't tell them to not bug me, but you could tell them that you don't hate me. And it's hard for me too. I'm always having a tough time. He was the love of my life and I spent my last 4 years every day with him pretty much. I'm sorry. This is his mother. Oh, I know you're like gripping the chair because it's infuriating. Dom's mom responds, my family will never be the same. I lost a part of my heart. I'm sorry that people aren't receptive to you, but those boys died at your hands. You have to understand that. You think I want things this way? My life is hell and I'm broken. Mackenzie says, I did not do this on purpose. If I knew any of this would happen, I would have made sure it was me that died. I would think you understand, but good to know that you think it's all my fault. I do understand that nothing is ever going to be the same. We're in the same boat. We both lost extremely important people to us. I try so hard to tell you guys that I would never do this on purpose, and I thought you would know that.
Wow. I feel like it's showing now.
Yeah.
Like she can't even pretend to.
I don't know where she gets this audacity.
I think the audacity has always been there. She just
hides it.
Yeah, at first she's like, okay, this is what I need to say. And then, she starts coming out again.
It's like doing the most. There's nothing worse than you can do than take someone's life and then saying, why can't I already said sorry?
Yeah.
Mackenzie is one of those individuals that has so much stamina in times of supposed grief on her end that she will exhaust people to the point where they just end up either having to agree with her or not talk to her. That's my opinion. It's just so excessive. Mackenzie messages Dom's mom again. Could you please try to help me get people to see that I didn't do this on purpose seriously? Hurts my soul that anyone thinks that, and I can't sleep knowing that. And if you know...
And she has the audacity to go ask victim's mom to help her.
And if you know you didn't do it on purpose, why do you need everybody else to know? I would just be great. Why do you need everyone to know? Dom's mom says, no one says that directly. I just said, look from the other side. It's hard to explain anything when you said you don't remember any of it. I know everybody thinks that though. I've just been having a rough couple of days. I'm trying really hard to talk to everybody. Dom's mom says, it's been really bad on me too. Can we please try to fix this? All I know is it's never going to be the same, but I want to be able to come spend time with you guys. I wish I could bring you guys closer. I think she means closure, but she writes closer. Or tell you what happened. If I could remember anything, I would tell you. I don't know why you think I would ever do this on purpose either. I understand I was the driver, but I would have done anything to prevent this. He's the love of anything to prevent this except for fucking press on the brake. He's the love of my life and my best friend. If I could remember, I would tell everybody, but that's just how trauma works. I wish I could bring you peace. She then goes back to harassing about going into the house again. And so Dom's mom is like, I will get your things together. I'm sorry things have been rough. I don't know where all my things are. I'm not allowed to just go and get my things, ? I understand it's been rough for me as well. I just don't understand why this has to be such an issue for me to go into the place that I spent all my time at. And I also want to make sure that all my things were not messed with because I know where everything was when I left it there.
You're going to jail. What do you need your stuff for?
Yeah. Later when Dom's brother, Angelo, is being interviewed by police, his mom is also in the same room. So Dom's mom is there. And the police informed them that Mackenzie's dad has been kind of a little bitch about Mackenzie's driver's license that is in Dom's house because she wasn't even driving with her driver's license, okay?
Wait. So Mackenzie's dad is...
telling the cops, like, we need to get her driver's license. Why do you need
For
her drive?
what?
Yeah, she doesn't need to be driving. What do you need her driver's license for?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, she wasn't driving with her driver's license. Anyway, the officer is like,
because they wanted her driver's license. And we said, first, her dad reached out to us a couple of times, and I said, at best, you can come request an escort. We'll call Miss Russo. If she says yes, we could arrange it. If she says no, we're done. And then last time when he was kind of getting under my skin, I said, no, we're not getting involved in this. And so he had his lawyer call me. And it was the old lawyer from Columbus. And I told him the exact same thing. I said, this is not a criminal matter. We're not getting in the middle of this civil stuff. Right now, emotions are high. The Russos are grieving. This is not the right time to get her driver's license.
But why wouldn't anybody even say anything to me?
she's like, I think the feeling is, why does she need to let them into the house? Why does this need to be a whole thing where the police have to reach out to her? The lawyer has to reach out to. It's like, no, I just don't want to. No, you're not going in the house.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know. Why is this a thing? Like, I said no. And then she says about Steve Shirilla, about Mackenzie's dad.
Well, let me tell you, that rotten son of a bitch father of hers never said a frickin' word to me. I bumped into them at the cemetery. Of course, my place I have to bump into him. And that bastard never even said, hello, how are you? I'm sorry. Nothing.
And side note, the only reason Dom's mom does admit to the police that she's talking to Mackenzie is because she also knows what Mackenzie is doing. And it's very clear through the text messages. It's such an icky feeling reading those messages between Mackenzie and Dom's mom. Mackenzie is effectively dangling pictures and videos of Dom in front of Dom's mom. And Dom's mom knows. So like, if Dom's mom doesn't respond, Mackenzie's like, I just found this picture of Dom.
She sends a photo?
Yeah, of like, in my photo book. And then a day later, if Dom's mom doesn't respond, oh, I just found this video. It's almost like this is the reason Dom's mom keeps responding, obviously. And Dom's mom is like, obviously, I know. Like, she's dangling photos and pictures of Dom in front of me. She knows it's to keep in contact. And the cops sympathize with her and they say, she's playing on your emotions. And she's like, yeah. Dom's mom even mentions,
She tried telling me the other day that she had some other medical conditions, and I think that was just fluffing to try to. Why wouldn't it have ever been mentioned to me before?
Gotcha.
Now he's dead, and you're going to mention this at the cemetery.
Who is?
she's saying like she went to the cemetery, Mackenzie is there, and Mackenzie, after Dom is dead, is like casually trying to bring up like, oh, I have so many medical conditions. And Dom's mom is like, are you for real right now? But what's worse about this is Dom's mom has a lot of very pertinent evidence. She doesn't have it immediately, and they all kind of start clicking together within the few days after the crash. But she has a situation with another witness that can back it up, that Dom had called her a week before the crash and said that Kenzie was threatening to crash the car with him in it.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. Dom's mom breaks down when talking to the investigators. She says, I just figured that maybe Mackenzie needed to grow up. She's young. I mean, do you guys know what I'm saying? You don't think that it's going to come to this.
And I just figured maybe she just needs to grow up. She's young. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? You don't think that it's going to come to this.
They ask her, what were your motherly instincts? Like, what did you feel around Kenzie, especially in the presence of Dominic? Was she genuine? She was everything you can tell by her. You know, she's everything all about her. If you notice, prom pictures, every single time we try to get a picture, she's all over my son. I can't even get one without her in it. He catered to her. She claimed she had a gluten-free problem or something, and I would make dinner. And then I would be questioned on, was the stuff okay for her diet because her stomach? And if I didn't have everything that would have complied with her stomach, diet, whatever it was, I never believed it. She's like, I never believed she was gluten-free. Which, side note, I don't believe either. Because she like loves to tell people nonstop that she's gluten-free. But also she's like demanding Dom buy her Chinese food, Popeyes, like just lots of other things, yeah.
And if I didn't have everything that would have complied with her stomach diet, whatever it was, I never believed it, he would cook for her separate, always. She's a slob. She never cleaned. Her mother's house is a slob. My house isn't the greatest either. But I'm just saying, it's just, you know, if Dom's going to cook for you, do the dishes. Clean up after yourself. Do you know what I mean?
So all of this, coupled with the fact that after being released from the hospital, Mackenzie goes to a Kid Cudi concert.
What?
Mackenzie cannot walk yet. She gets discharged from the hospital. She is in a wheelchair.
This is like days after the crash? Or
This is like weeks after because she was in the hospital for a long time. But still, she just gets discharged from the hospital. Actually, I don't even know if it's like weeks, okay? It's just like maybe a week and a half. But she's wearing tiny little booty shorts. She's in a wheelchair, a evil eye bikini, and her hair's in space buns. And she's just at a Kid Cudi concert.
With who? Her friends?
Yeah, and they're just like wheeling her around the freaking concert. Mackenzie is also incessantly posting on Snapchat pictures and videos of her in the hospital going to therapy. It's just a bit odd. Even the way she's posing for all the pictures, she keeps doing the thing with her feet. So she loves taking pictures of her legs because they're both in casts. And then she does the thing where you like angle your toes inward. She'll be in the passenger seat of the car. Her mom's taking her to Whole Foods. There's a rainbow. Mackenzie has her cast. She has her legs up on the dash. She's taking a picture from inside the car with, again, her feet pointed inwards for whatever reason. She later sends that photo to Dom's cousin saying, I was bawling my eyes out at Whole Foods because this is where we used to shop. Her and Dom. And when I left, there was a rainbow right over. And if you look where the rainbow would have ended, it touched the ground. It's literally on me. She's like saying Dom is in heaven, putting a rainbow on her. And the cousin, I mean, at this point doesn't know what's going on. So she's just like, that's beautiful. He just keeps giving me signs and it's kind of making it easier. But I also cry because he's not here. She tells the relative he's sad, but he wants all of us to be strong. As if she's like communicating with Dom. And like out of all people, she says, he wants us to be strong, even though it's going to be hard. I still cry every day. And I'm sure you do too. How the fuck do you know that is my question. I mean, doing copious amounts of drugs every day doesn't make you a spiritual being. It probably just makes you a little more prone to hallucinations. I don't get it. The relative just doesn't get it either because she wants to keep talking to Mackenzie to get clarity because she's just always trying to reroute the conversation. Even Dom's cousin is like, keeps rerouting the conversation. She says, a lot of people think this situation looks bad. You know, the road in the grass. I don't understand it. You can be honest with me, I promise you. What do you mean, the road in the grass? I will be honest with you with everything. I'm trying to give the family closure. It makes it harder because I don't remember driving on the street for some reason, but the therapist told me people block out traumatic stuff because my brain couldn't process, but I just wish I did. There might be cameras that caught it though, which would make me feel so much better. And something else that's bothering me is I feel like the cops don't give a single fuck about this. Later, the cousin says, yeah, but you did kill 2 people and you're not a minor anymore. Mackenzie responds, I didn't kill anyone. It was an accident. But the cousin is saying, well, you're just like behaving weirdly still. Like, Kenzie, if I'm going to be honest with you, I've said this before. A lot of people agree with me on this one about how you were reposting things about your modeling and stuff. But do you really think that's important in a time like this? I just don't understand that at all. I'm a pretty easygoing person. That's why I'm trying to hear your side as well. But it makes me angry. I haven't posted anything since this accident happened. To which the cousin is like, you literally posted this and sends a screenshot. And Mackenzie responds, my modeling is the last thing I care about. You and your mom both responded to that modeling agency. There's no way in hell I posted that. The cousin is like, girl, and what modeling agency did I respond? Because I haven't gotten a message from any of them. The relative sends another photo. Now Mackenzie is like, okay, they wanted to repost my pictures, so I told them they could. There's no issue with that. Okay, I just don't think it makes sense to be responding and posting that picture to your story and having your mom respond. I thought that's the last thing you should be worried about right now, but that's just my opinion. Mackenzie snaps. It's like, she doesn't snap as much with Dom's mom, but she types out, I didn't post that picture on my story. Dom would want me to be happy and try to live a normal life. If all these people were saying these things to me in real life, Dom would whoop their ass. And I'm not sure where this conversation is going. Is this like a trap or something? Are you trying to incriminate me or make me feel even worse than I already do? Everybody's acting like they were so close with him. Like I wasn't the one sleeping at his house every single night taking care of him and he was taking care of me. The love of my life is gone forever. I'm never going to love again. Her prison girlfriends would disagree, but I'm never going to fall in love again. I'm forever his, and I'm going to live on and do everything possible for him, whether it's eat the food he likes, wear the clothes he likes, go to the places he likes. I'm doing it for him. Yet later, she tries to argue like she went to Kid Cudi for Dom. Dom loves Kid Cudi, and they were planning on going to the Kid Cudi concert, yeah. How generous and remorseful can somebody be? Mackenzie rants about the people reposting about her, talking about the modeling agency, and that they're all haters, which the cousin is explaining, well, it doesn't really matter whether or not they're reposting it or haters, because why did you give them something to repost anyway? Like, why did you do that? Like, she's like, that's not the point, you know? It's not just them who thinks it's weird that you were doing what you were doing when the incident occurred. Mackenzie is responding about a girl named Alexis, who I guess has been reposting a lot of this stuff. And she goes, Alexis is a disgusting fat bitch that tried to home wreck my relationship with me and Dom because she wants her gross friend to be with him. And then I guess the cousin, like, I think both the cousin and Dom's mom tries to calm her down and then tries to reroute the conversations. The cousin is like, why do I feel like I know who you're talking about? Like, she's actually fat? And she says, Alexis is ginormous. Later, Dom's cousin asks Mackenzie, I don't think Dom was sober that night. I don't know if you remember, but do you? Mackenzie states, I don't know why you're trying to be all detective on me. You're digging for information and you're saying you're not trying to be rude, but it's honestly weird and very uncomfortable. August 6th, so a week after the crash, she's doing so much online that one of her friends even DMs her, not a good look, homie. Like, best bet is not to post it, not to read the messages and such. Because Mackenzie is like responding to haters. Everyone's a hater if they think that she's morally corrupt. And she writes back, are people saying mean stuff? Not to my knowledge. I just don't think it looks good for you. That's all. There's the partying, but also weird posts. Like there's this weird post where Mackenzie goes to Dom's grave with her mom. She's sitting in a wheelchair. And you know that, I don't know what the name of that tequila bottle is. It's like in that blue floral print and there's a bell at the top that you can ring.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
They bring that to the grave, the tequila bottle that rings. I guess.
They bring a tequila bottle?
Yeah, because you know it's customary to bring alcohol and like pour it onto the grave, and I guess they drank this tequila a lot. But the weird part is Mackenzie is filming herself. You don't see her face; you just see the gravesite, and she's like crying, and she's focusing on the tequila bottle, so you hear her sobbing. And then she's like telling her mom, "Ring it, ring the bell." And the mom is like looking at her, I think, like, how do I ring the bell? And she's like, just tap the top. And then she like taps the top of the tequila bottle and it rings. And then Mackenzie sobs harder. And I'm just like, what are we posting right now? This is so, it's like,
Can you ring the bell? You just hit it.
But it seems like in the beginning, everyone is still trying to some extent give Mackenzie the benefit of the doubt. But Dom's mom is able to provide the police with, like I said, those few key details that are going to be very important later. One, Dom's mom finds out that the month of the crash, Dom felt the need to take a video on his friend's phone of a fight that he and Mackenzie were having. So Dom has like this guy friend that was over at his house. Mackenzie is outside the house, banging on the door trying to get in. Okay. And Dom is on the phone with Mackenzie. So Dom's using his phone and calling Mackenzie. Then he's got his friend's phone recording his phone. And Mackenzie's screaming. Dom is on the phone with Mackenzie and he's recording all of this. And Dom is inside the house. Mackenzie's outside. And Mackenzie says, like, before you lied and said you would never lock me out of the house again. This is why we got back together. The last time we broke up, but I forgot you can never keep your word. And he's like explaining, like, you're the one that broke up with me. And then she's like, because you were a little fucking weak bitch. So this is your last chance. And he's like, you're the one that broke up with me. This is your last chance to open the door or you're not coming out of the house all night because I will not leave.
You're going to come open this door right now or there's going to be a serious fucking problem. Okay, ready?
You literally broke up with me earlier. Like, what is the point of you trying to break up? You broke up with me early. Like, what? No, I didn't. Yes, you did. You said earlier we are not together. You literally said that shit. Like you broke up with me earlier. Like, what are you trying to make? Like, why would I just let you in my house if you break up with me and you're threatening to break up with me and shit and you're threatening to break my shit? 1, 2, you're threatening to key my car. You're threatening to break the doors down. I will key your car if you do not let me in this house. You're going to key my car if I don't let you in the house? If you don't let me in the house, yeah. What the fuck? Yeah, I know. So just let me in the house. No, like, why can't you just be like calm, at least for a second, and I can feel comfortable letting you in the house? And again, does this not sound terrifying? Like, I know a lot of people listen to this and they're like, oh, this was such a toxic relationship. If the roles were reversed, if there was a man outside the house saying, let me in the house or I'm keying your car, it would come off incredibly threatening. Yeah. I am calm. I don't think you get to decide that with your fucking weird ass trauma problems. You're literally threatening to fucking key my car and shit. Like, what else are you threatening? Dom, I'm going to give you one last chance to open the door or I'm going to leave, do what I said I was going to do. What are you going to do? I'm going to give you one last chance. Open. Kenzie, look, let me go to bed. No, you're not. You can, and I can let you come over later. No, you're not, because I'm coming to dinner too. So Dom was going to go to dinner with his mom and his grandma. And Kenzie's like, I'm coming to dinner. Why? Well, you should have told me you wanted to come. You fucking R-word. She already put me on the reservation, so fucking open the door, you dumbass. Like, open the door. No, I'm not letting you in the house. 5, 4.
Oh my God.
Then another video clip begins. Mackenzie is still outside. Dom is inside the house and Mackenzie is threatening Dom. Dom, if you do not open, like, you think I'm joking? Do you think I'm joking? Do you think I'm joking like I'm dead ass? What are you dead ass about? Okay, I'm gonna give you one last chance to open the door. Kenzie, I can't open the door. I can't sit here and fight. Like, I gotta go to dinner so I can see my grandparents. Like, I can't sit here and fight. You're not going to dinner if you don't open the door. I'm gonna let you know that right now. And then what? What will happen? What are you trying to say? I am telling you, I already told you what happens. You're not going to dinner. What do you mean? You know exactly what I mean. You don't need to know exactly what I mean. You're going to open this door right now or there's going to be a serious fucking problem. I can't. No, like you can't keep making all those threats. I can't open the door. And you can't kick me out of the place you say is my home. Kenzie, I didn't kick you out. You took all your shit and dipped. You said we were done. Like, I did not say we were done. Okay, ready? I'm going to count to 10.
I'm going to count to 10. The door's going to open, okay? Stop hiding behind the door like a little fucking bitch.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Mackenzie, I can't open the 4. Okay, I'm going to break something then. What are you trying to break? Open the door. Stop being a little bitch and open the door. I can't let you in my house with how you're acting. It's like as simple as that. Like, there's no way. Like, there's no way I should. I'm just going to break the handle off. Fucking break the lock? Like, you're going to break into my house? Yes, I will. I will break into your house. You're right. I will break into it. It's not your house. It's my house. It is. Dom, now open the door. You have 30 seconds left on this phone call to open the door or we are done. She starts banging on the door and you can hear it on the video. Open the door right now. Dom, if you don't open the door, I'm keying your car. Why the fuck would you keep... Are you serious? Okay, you have 30 seconds or I'm going to do it. She starts banging on the door. There's cracking. There's banging noises. Well, I just broke your fucking key thing, so that sucks. What key thing? I don't know. You're going to have to open the door to see it because that's where it's fucked up from the outside, you fucking dick. Now open the door. No, you're breaking shit and stuff. Like, you're not coming into my house. Dom, I will break shit. I will break shit. Do I have to call the police? Why would you call the police? Do I have to call the police? Are you not going to let me into my house? This is not your house. All right, Kenzie, I'm calling your mom. I'm calling my mom. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Then we are done. If you do not let me in this house that I sleep in every night, then we are done. Prosecutors think this whole video is very interesting because, again, it does show the threatening behavior of Mackenzie, but also, why is Dom filming this video? He took his friend's phone to record it, and he's talking to Mackenzie on his phone. What would compel him to make this video to begin with, unless he feels like he needs to document this? But for what reason? There's another video that Mackenzie herself has recorded where she's in the car and she's recording Dom. She has his phone and his wallet and she's not letting him get it. So she's in the car with his stuff. And he's just like, give me my shit, dude. Give me my shit. Mackenzie just responds, yeah, we have problems. Why are you trying to torment me? We have problems. Because you're trying to torment me. We have problems, Dom. Put that shit in my window and see what goddamn happens. We have fucking problems.
Give me my shit, dude. Give me my shit.
Yeah, we have problems.
Why are you trying to torment me?
We have problems.
Because you're trying to fucking torment me.
We have problems.
I think he was just trying to get in.
Oh.
One person interviewed by the police states, I heard that Mackenzie would say if Dom ever broke up with her, she would self-exit. And just 1 week before the crash, Dom calls his mom saying he and Mackenzie got into a fight. Mackenzie threatened to crash the car on the highway. Dom's mom was super sick at the time. Like, she was hospitalized. Like, it was really bad. She was going through a lot of health stuff. She calls a friend of hers named Chris. And she's like, Chris, you got to go save my son. Like, he's on the highway somewhere. Like, he's sending me his location. Mackenzie's like threatening to crash the car. You got to go get my son. You got to go get my son. So this guy's Chris. He gets in the car. Detectives also bring him in, right? And they ask him, when you were on the phone with Dom, because eventually Chris is calling Dom trying to coordinate where he is, can you clarify again what you heard Mackenzie say over the phone? She said she'll crash his car right now.
They were driving? or what's happening on the highway?
They're driving, but they eventually pulled over, and then Dom got into Chris's car because Chris showed up.
Mackenzie is driving.
It seems that way. Now, there's different accounts of all these stories. Now, there is one account, Mackenzie tells Dom's mom, that's not what happened, right? Mackenzie is like, I was driving and Dom tried to yank the steering wheel and crash the car. Like, he just tried to kill me. Mackenzie's parents use her text message saying that this is what happened as evidence. But I mean, Chris is like a third party witness. I'm sure he's close friends with Dom's mom, but just like judging with everything that I've seen so far, no one that knows Dom says that he is capable of yanking someone's. In fact, a lot of people say, interestingly, Dom is like not a regular 20-year-old guy in the sense that he drives pretty safely. Like, he's not a reckless driver. Yeah. All of these things are useful to the police, and they're completely relevant information. However, to really figure out what happened in that car, they need to know what happened that night. If Mackenzie's not going to tell them what happened in the car, maybe someone can tell them what happened right before they got in the car, like someone at the gathering at Paul's house. Because remember, there's 7 people there. Paul, Nina, Rosie, Rosie's boyfriend Bubba, Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion. Bubba and Davion are close. They play football together, so they've actually been close for a long time. Bubba's dating Rosie. So actually, Rosie, Bubba, and Davion have been close for years. And Rosie is really close friends with Paul. Nina is also really close with Rosie. Like, in fact, Nina and Rosie are going to be college dorm roommates. So they're all like a very tight-knit group. And then Mackenzie and Rosie have recently started hanging out in the past few months. And then Dom has just been kind of brought into the mix because Mackenzie doesn't like to go anywhere without him. And it seems like everybody likes Dom too. At some point, Davion had even lived at Bubba's house for a few months. So, you know, a lot of them have established friendships aside from Mackenzie and Dom thus far. And interestingly, you know, I think there were points where the police are trying to ask Paul, the owner, you know, this is Paul's house that they were all at, what Mackenzie and Dom's relationship is like. And he just tells them, if you want to know anything about Mackenzie's relationship with Dom, you have to ask Rosie. Rosie's the one to talk to. The prosecutor says this about Rosie. Rosie would have been the most likely source of information on what was going on in Mackenzie's mind leading up to the crash. You have no idea how hard I tried to get Rosie Graham to talk to me, to cooperate with me. This is in the Netflix documentary. The prosecutor says, but it's good to hear that she talked to you guys. I'm fascinated to hear what she has to say. So with this, everyone is like, why the fuck did Rosie not talk to anyone? And then she's just doing a documentary? Like, you're not talking to the police, you're not talking to the prosecutor, and then you do a documentary? Rosie says to Netflix, the police called to set up an interview, and I was like, I'm not doing it. People always say the police will try to say crazy things, especially if you're alone and you're a teenager. It doesn't seem like we're trying to figure out what happened in the accident. It seems like we're trying to track down the next big drug dealer. I'm just going to run you through what happened in the Netflix doc and the social media reaction first, because after the Netflix doc aired, people on social media were pretty much dumbfounded. They're like, what the hell is going on? Especially with Rosie, because they're saying Rosie, she is a pretty big YouTuber. She's got like over 1 million followers. She does fitness challenges. She's big into Pilates. And so a lot of people had been following Rosie on YouTube. And then they're like, oh, this new true crime documentary came out on Netflix. Let's watch it. And they're like, that's the girl that I've been working out with on YouTube. And now she's defending Mackenzie. Like, what the hell is going on? We didn't even know that they were friends up until this. Nobody that follows her on social media connected them to. What's happening? And now she's defending Mackenzie. And secondly, why the hell is Rosie talking to a documentary crew if she hasn't spoken to the police? Why would she work with Netflix if she didn't work on getting justice for Dom and Davion? The only logical reason is because she would get nothing out of working with the police. I mean, I guess justice doesn't count, but she would get fame from working with Netflix. That's kind of what social media thinks. Like, that's the only way it makes sense. Rosie explains in the documentary, so many people were asking so many questions to all of us because they were like, you were there with them. You know, what did they take? You know, they were on something. They didn't give us a second to process what just happened. She says, in high school is when I met Kenzie. We started commenting on each other's Instagrams before we even talked to each other in person. We would like comment DM back and forth or Snapchat. She says, you know, Kenzie would make cute little TikTok videos of her trying on outfits. She would come to school with a purse instead of a bag, which I thought was really cute. I got along with her well. I'm like, you're cute. She's like, you're cute. And I'm like, we get along so well. When I met her, I had 200,000 on YouTube and TikTok, and she had like a few thousand followers. She always wanted to be a model like me, so me and Kenzie would hang out and just go do photo shoots. Rosie says about that night, I was just texting her to bring over some weed for the night. We were also talking about doing the mushrooms, which is why they brought them and they had them in the car with them. First of all, It wasn't a party at all because in my opinion and everybody that was there, we call that a sleepover. And that was just like a friend's sleepover that we would normally do. I brought like a coloring book and like colored pencils. We were watching YouTube videos. We were having deep conversations and just sitting around. And we were also talking about doing the mushrooms. And then by the time they got over there, it was like 12 a.m. And we're all like, it's too late. Producers asked, so no mushrooms. Yeah, we were all just kind of like, it's really late. And we had like weed to smoke, so we just smoked weed. Kenzie didn't even smoke that night. Rosie and Bubba say that Mackenzie that night, she was on a smoke break because she was coughing up black mucus, bloody mucus. Rosie says, Kenzie was sleeping by like 3 a.m. All I remember is Dom just patting her head all night, cuddling up to her on the couch, and she was sleeping, and he was like caressing her hair. There was not one argument. There was not one moment of tension. There was not one bad vibe towards anybody. And then really early in the morning, around 5 a.m., Dom came into the kitchen, and I was like, are you guys leaving? Davion starts talking to Bubba because technically he was going to go home with Bubba because they were going to work on Bubba's truck. And Davion is like, apparently he knows how to work a car. According to Bubba, Davion gives him a hug and says, love you. And he responds, love you too. Bubba says, it was very weird. It was the first time we said we loved each other for a while. And Rosie tells Netflix, I didn't think she would get arrested for all of this. That's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm thinking our friends are dead. How are we going to recover from this? I will say Rosie comes off entirely unlikable in the Netflix documentary. Obviously the things that were being said, but also the tone in a lot of the moments. And just like the whole, oh, Mackenzie would never eat a McChicken, which Rosie didn't say, the other girl said. Rosie does have a few viral clippable moments where she says things like she and Mackenzie wanted to be, got along because Kenzie wanted to be a model like Rosie. I think the internet took that and just ran to hell and back with it. I mean, criticism did very quickly turn into body shaming. There were weird theories popping up online on social media about whether or not Mackenzie left the gathering because she woke up and saw Rosie hitting on Dom, which ultimately is just an internet rumor that also harms Dom's family, and there's really no evidence backing that conspiracy. And because Rosie didn't cooperate with the police, but is cooperating with Netflix and seems supportive of Mackenzie, naturally the internet felt like she's covering something up. Which, side note, we did ask Rosie about a lot of the questions that the internet had. Like, why didn't you talk to the police? Why did you talk to Netflix? What happened that night? But more on that in a second. Right now, I'm just like running you through what happened in the doc and the internet reaction. Landon, Rosie's boyfriend, aka Bubba. So Bubba is Landon. That's his nickname. He's also in the Netflix doc, and he's Davion's close friend. He's probably the most notable in the documentary for saying, quote, you guys are acting like this is Jeffrey Dahmer or someone that's out there like calculating these murders and calculating these things. No, that's not who she was. He says about the Mackenzie and Dom's relationship, it was a high school relationship. There was going to be fights. There's going to be ups and downs. He says about that night to Netflix that there was no tension, no arguing, just nothing. He said, me, Dave, and Dom were watching a shark documentary, like stupid shit on the TV. A couple times we'd go out and smack the bong. Originally, according to police documents, Bubba was very avoidant when it came to answering questions about that night to the police. And all these peers were coming in reporting that people were being intimidated to not talk to the police. So Bubba's
intimidated?
Yeah, Bubba is like, oh, he's being hesitant to talk to the police.
Yeah.
And then Davion's other friends who have his Life 360 app, and they've been like running their own little investigation, which I will say, some of the stuff that they gathered, the police were like, we're like heading into kind of conspiracy territory. But some of the other stuff was largely useful, like the Life 360 data and all these other things. I can see how, sometimes they're going to come up with theories that don't end up panning out, but they were working hard to try to figure out what's going on. Yeah. So they're coming to the police and they're like, we think lots of people are being intimidated not to talk to you guys. Like that's the energy we're getting. Like we're hearing around the block that people are scared to talk to you guys. Even some of their parents are coming out, and one of the parents was like, it seems like people are scared of Mackenzie's friend group. Some people are scared of Mackenzie if they're talking to, like, it just seems, maybe it's more social pressure and not, hey, if you talk, something really bad is going to happen to you. But there's just like a lot of this intimidation, talks of, refusing to cooperate because people are being intimidated. Now, there's a recorded conversation between two law enforcement officials about Bubba. They get on the phone and they're talking about Bubba, and it's part of the case file.
Okay.
Yeah. So like one of them is like, who is this? And it's like, oh, it's Chief. What's up, Chief? How you doing? And then they're like, okay.
Chicago Police Detective here.
Hi, Detective Chief Weaver again. Hey, Chief, how you doing? Not bad. So, just had a conversation with Landon.
Uh-huh.
That was a very interesting conversation, I must say. He is not willing to talk. He says that he is not being threatened, and in his words, I'm at the top of the chain. Nobody messes with me. I'll just kick their ass. He seemed very. This is just my intuition or whatever. Whatever this is, he's involved.
He's involved.
Okay, there's no like backup to this. That's like a crazy thing to say, I will say, because he's not in the car. There are some people speculating online, like maybe he's not being truthful or that transparent about what happened at Paul's house that night. But to say that he's involved seems like a big stretch, right? But that's what the police say. This is in the FOIA file, which after the Netflix doc dropped, a lot of people who had access to the FOIA file or requested it on their own, they start releasing stuff like this and they're like, oh my God, he wouldn't talk. He was hesitant to talk to the police. He's acting like that in the doc. The cops are saying he's involved in this phone call. So it just kind of spirals into this huge thing. Now, Bubba does have an interview with the police that is also in the file, and he's asked, do you have any theories about the crash or what might have happened? The only thing that my gut and my intuition is telling me is that she passed out. That's my gut intuition. I mean, I don't know. This is not credible at all, but do you guys know what a pendulum is? It's like kind of like you hang a necklace and you let it swing to the words, kind of like a Ouija board, but without, I mean, you know what I'm saying. You know what a pendulum is.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's asking the cop?
Yeah.
No,
Any other theories about the crash or what might have happened?
The only thing that what my gut and my intuition is telling me is that she passed out. Like, that's my gut intuition. I mean, I don't know. This is not like credible at all, but you guys know what like a pendulum is? So I use like a pendulum board with a little crystal, and I got in my truck when I was down here by myself. I'm gonna try and talk to Davion with it. And so like tried talking to Davion. I asked him a bunch of personal questions, and it was crazy because he was actually spelling out like the words of like what I was looking for. So then I kept asking questions. I was like, "You think she passed out?" Like I was asking questions about the crash, and he was just like, "Yes, I think she passed out." And I asked Dave, I was like, "Did you guys like on the pendulum board?" I was like, "Did you guys even know that you guys were crashed?" And he was like, "No." Like he had no clue that they crashed. But obviously, again, that's not like a credible thing.
He's saying all this to the cop?
Yes. And what's even crazier is Mackenzie was very much into the pendulum. I don't really see Bubba. He's like a football player, kind of jock vibes. He doesn't really strike me as the person that would be into pendulums. Mackenzie was trying to get everybody onto pendulums, it seems, after the crash. She got Dom's dad to get into pendulums to try and talk to Dom.
Successfully doing it?
Yeah,
Is it
so
just out of grief? And
yeah, Dom's dad, and they're very transparent about this in the documentary. Dom's dad and older sister, they did not know as much. Dom's older sister is much, much older, and she has a child of her own. So, naturally with that kind of age gap, and a 20-year-old guy is not going to tell his older sister everything going on in his life and relationship. I think they had less contact with Mackenzie than, let's say, Dom's mom. Dom's mom's, like, in the beginning, she was kind of, like, trying to be a good person. She is a good person, but trying to give Mackenzie time. But I don't think that she gave her benefit of the doubt, really.
as much as the other members.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Dom's dad had recently come back into Dom's life. And so I think there was a different type of grief there. And maybe they felt like Mackenzie's been always around Dom. And they actually supported Mackenzie for a really long time until the prosecutors showed them the video of the crash. And they said it was like a missile. And that was the first time they ever saw it. And that is when they didn't stop supporting Mackenzie. Because she made it sound like it was an accident. And like just the way she was texting Dom's cousin, she's like, oh, it's not as fast as the Life 360. So I think they all tended to try and want to believe her. But yeah, she got Dom's dad on the pendulum. So like the fact that Bubba's using a pendulum is kind of weird. The pendulum is like a very depressing part of all of this. But back to the interview, Bubba says she had beef with everybody. Girls, guys, everything. Like they do not associate. People from Strongsville and Mackenzie do not associate. As to why so many people are coming forward to say that Mackenzie and Dom's relationship was bad at the time of the crash, Bubba says. So that's another reason why I think so many people are bombarding you with all this stuff that's false, is because they just don't like her. They want to see her down. They want to see her do all that. And I know that for a fact because a lot of people do not like her.
A lot of people, especially Charlotte, do not like Kenzie. They just do not get along. Like, she's had beef with everybody, girls, guys, everything. Like, people from Charlottesville and Kenzie do not associate. So that's another reason why I think so many people are bombarding you with all this stuff that's false, is because they just don't like her. They want to see her. They want to see her down. They want to see her do all that.
He's also very specific about there's this one guy, we're going to call him H. H gets labeled by Bubba as kind of like a hater in this and saying that he's just spreading weird rumors and conspiracies about Mackenzie because he hates Mackenzie. Later, the police are talking to H about it and is like, what's like, just asking him questions. And this is how he phrases the story. So H is like, okay, Mackenzie sees a hater online and they're talking about the car crash. Mackenzie responds, that was my boyfriend of 4 years. I wasn't drunk, blah, blah, blah. Like just going on of like how much she loved her boyfriend. And H is friends with Davion. So he feels something. He's like kind of pissed off because it's like, yeah, you're saying you love Dom, but what about Davion, the other person you killed? So he responds to Mackenzie in this conversation that he wasn't really a part of. I think this is appropriate in his time of grief. He writes, Davion, ? Like, you're not even going to mention him, right? He says the intention is, quote, just asking about my friend. It's nothing like coming at her. I wasn't bullying. I was just kind of offended that she would bring up only her boyfriend when there were 2 people in the car that died. To which Mackenzie responds, obviously him too, but obviously Dom is affecting me more because this is my boyfriend of 4 years. And I've heard what you've been talking about and saying about me and Dom. Leave us and our family alone. You're a whole mess now. Goodbye. To which H responds, Dom was a good friend of mine. You know that yourself. Davion was one of my best friends. I wish nothing bad about you and I wish you a fast recovery. Understand it was 2 counts of manslaughter though. Life 360 was all the proof you needed because it was all the proof we needed. But he tells the police that he couldn't even send the message because she already blocked him. And instead, Rosie reaches out to him, eventually messaging him, that is disgusting to say to a girl that can't move in a hospital bed, telling me how fucking depressed she is. Hope Mackenzie doesn't kill herself. That's my next concern. We already lost 2 people, 3 basically, and she knows she fucked up. You aren't involved and you do not need to sit here and rub it in her face. Do you understand mental health? There's an additional report in the FOIA that states that Bubba had changed his story with what he was telling their friends. This is like a friend saying this. So this is, I was trying to like verify all of these things, but it's like friends are saying a bunch of other things. And it's just, there are times where friends will say something and it's been disproven. Friends will come in, say something, and it seems like a good track for the investigation. It's just a lot. Now it's reported to the police, quote, at first he was against Kenzie. But
this is just a random friend.
Yes, but the girl that he's dating, Bubba's dating, Rosie, is one of Kenzie's better friends. I wouldn't say best friends because I don't really know her friend group, but I know Rosie was with her a lot and at Dom's house. Then his stories just kind of started switching up. And he's talking about Bubba. And then he started acting weird about it. I'm like, were they arguing when they left, bro? And then he was telling me at first that they were arguing when they left. There was an argument or there was like a dispute. But then the next day he completely changed the story and he was just saying that Davion and Dom were asleep and then they woke up and Kenzie didn't go to sleep at all, or she was drawing or something like that. She was just like coloring in coloring books and then they left the house. So there's just a lot of mixed reports, and I think that's why there's seeds of doubt on Rosie and Bubba's story about whether or not they argued in the house. So I think if like Rosie and Bubba had immediately talked to the police and said, no, they did not argue in the house. Paul confirms it. If Nina had confirmed it, she doesn't have an interview with the police. But if had she, then I think a lot of people would be like, no, I don't think they argued in the house. But they're all so hesitant to talk to the police. And then these friends are like, Bubba was saying to me, and this is all hearsay, but it's just like adding lots of seeds of doubt on Rosie and Bubba because it's just weird. And since we're on this, there's another report that another person had mentioned Rosie had told them that she drove by the crash site the same morning on her way home. But she's not the one that called the police. So, I mean, we don't really know what to gather from this other than she drove by and didn't see anything. She drove by and saw it and was like, holy shit, like, I can't call the cops, which means she knew this was going to, like, what does that mean, right? But we don't have more information. They just say, quote, she said she passed by the site at 6:00. So it had just happened, but she didn't know. She was driving back home and she didn't know. The officer is like, she didn't know. Yeah, but she was tripping and she dropped Bubba off at his house which I don't think is accurate, but like there's so many people reporting things to the police. So more on all of this in a second, because we asked Rosie and Bubba about all of this. But then another report comes in from someone that is very important to the investigators, Davion's mother. Davion's mother states, because Bubba finally, after hesitating and not wanting to, finally talked to the police. She states that after his interview with the police, she remembers seeing a post that Rosie made on TikTok about not feeling at home anymore with someone that used to feel like home because you feel betrayed. And Davion's mom is like, I think it's because Bubba talked to the police. I think it's because her boyfriend talked to the police and Rosie is upset because Rosie she hasn't talked to the police. And another thing Davion's parents mention is they say that they knew that Bubba was not cooperating originally. And Bubba had asked them, because, Bubba and Davion are close. So Bubba had come to Davion's parents and asked if he could go into Davion's room. He just wanted to, if they allowed him, obviously, to take one of his jerseys so that he could keep it forever. And they let him. And the police report reads that while a detective is talking to Davion's parents, they mention that, and the detective quickly tells them that Bubba's not cooperating with the investigation. And so then Davion's parents are like, okay, well, something else weird happened. Bubba told us that he had gone to the hospital to see Mackenzie, and he saw Mackenzie's dad, Steve. And quote, according to Landon, Bubba, this is in the police report, Steve looked him in the eye and asked him to help him save his daughter. So with all of this pieced together, the internet is like, okay, help him save his daughter. I think the reason that at least initially Rosie and Bubba's segments on the Netflix doc were so widely discussed is because they really might be the only few people who have insight on what happened that night. And it's odd that they seemed so evasive about talking to the police, cooperating with the investigation, that they're not defending, but somewhat supporting Mackenzie, even though they've been friends with Davion for way longer. There's just a lot of questions netizens have. So we asked them, and Rosie and Bubba responded. Now, I will say that I was not on that phone call. There was a schedule overlap, but also we thought it would be best for me to remain as objective as possible, and I thought the easiest way would be to not be on that phone call. I gave my researchers a list of questions that I had. My researchers also had their own list of questions, and we were just rapid fire, making sure that everything got answered. And I will say that Rosie and Bubba do not have seemed to be at least evasive to any of the questions. I did, of course, try my best to verify their statements, but there are some that are, for obvious reasons, impossible to verify. And for those, I'm just going to point out there's no way to verify that. And at times where I do attempt to verify with the FOIA file, I'm just going to walk you through my steps and thought process of how I tried to verify information, just so we can be as transparent as possible. Rosie and Bubba first stated that they felt the Netflix documentary was extremely edited and twisted in a way that does not represent how they truly feel. Rosie told us that she was under the impression that the Netflix doc was talking to her and Bubba about the viewpoint of losing friends in such a tragic way at such a young age. She says, I just feel like it really was twisted in a way that we never anticipated. Rosie states that it wasn't what she was expecting to represent her feelings about the whole situation. So they were describing that Rosie had an 8-hour-long interview with producers. Bubba had a 15-hour-long interview, and it's just like rapid fire questions all day. And they said that they answered each and every single one of them. And when they saw the final documentary, they even thought the original documentary was going to be a 3-part docuseries, but it got cut down to just 1.5 hours. Rosie states she felt like they just took out a lot of things for simplicity's sake. They never got an early viewing of the documentary either, and when it did release, Rosie and Bubba stayed up till like 3 a.m. to watch it, and they state that they were taken aback by how much was cut out. For like 8 hours, 15 hours, they say it's only like 15 minutes make it in. And they thought that it was not a good representation of their interviews, is what they state to us. Rosie shares her grievances with the way the documentary cut her parts, stating that she felt a lot of trust with the production team. She says they did Don't Fuck with Cats, which is honestly great. We think it's a great film. Everybody loves that. We just watched it a while ago. So they had a lot of reputable films. I thought they would take our story responsibly, and they were always super nice every time we communicated with them. And we really poured our hearts out, and they came into our house like multiple times. They felt it was just not accurate of how they feel. So how do they feel? The biggest question that we had for Rosie, other than what happened that night, was why would you not talk to the police, but you want to talk to Netflix? That also seemed to be the biggest point of contention on the internet when it comes to Rosie. I did see through the police file, throughout the police report, there are multiple mentions in the detective's incident report that he has reached out to Rosie and she has declined to speak with him. He's like reaching out multiple days. This is a major, completely understandable point that's being made online. I too am of the belief of like, how can you really grieve the loss of two friends, but you did everything you could to avoid helping the investigators figure out the truth of what happened that night? It doesn't make sense. It does give cover-up vibes, understandably. So we asked, why did she not talk to the investigators? In the documentary, in the Netflix documentary, the prosecutor is also interviewed, and he states, quote, "You have no idea how hard I try to get Rosie Graham to talk to me, to cooperate with me. But it's good to hear that she talked to you guys. I'm fascinated to hear what she has to say." So we asked Rosie, and she states she did talk to the prosecutor.
Really?
Yeah, she says, quote, "I did speak with the prosecutor, and I don't really know what got lost in communication with them." She later mentions that she had 2 phone calls with the prosecutors. One was an hour long, the other one was 30 minutes long, and that she has the phone record to prove these calls happened. Now, here's what I did to verify this statement. Like I said, there are multiple mentions in the detective report of trying to get Rosie to come in for an interview. There is no mention that she ever did. However, Rosie does state that she talked to the prosecutor, not the detective. So in the detective's report, he's like, Rosie won't talk to me, Rosie won't talk to me. Rosie tells us she talked to the prosecutor, 2 different people. She says this. So there's all this talk online that nobody cooperated, and I think it's the way that documentary was edited, where I was explaining the initial police hesitation and they cut it with the prosecutor, which he's not even the police. You know, the prosecutor didn't call us originally, and I explained it on the documentary in depth. And once Mackenzie was arrested, the prosecutor called me. It went to voicemail. I called him back, and I have phone records of 2 phone calls with him. One was half an hour and the other one was an hour long.
The guy who's saying that in the Netflix doc?
Yeah.
That's the prosecutor.
Yeah.
So the prosecutor, she's saying they did speak.
Yeah.
Then why did he in the documentary saying?
She thinks it's the way the producers edited it.
Oh, so she's saying the prosecutor could say, "Oh, you have no idea how much I've tried. I'm fascinated."
Yeah.
Wait.
Well, I have my theories about that too.
Oh, okay.
And so she says, and I remember he asked me, he said, "I'm going to ask you every question I would ask you on the stand." And I answered every question. Then he went on the documentary and it's cut with me saying, "I didn't initially want to talk to the police because I thought it was a drug investigation." And then the prosecutor saying, "Oh, I'm so fascinated with what she's going to say," insinuating that I never spoke with him, but I did. And I was under the impression that I would be testifying during the trial, and I was willing to. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to call you whenever to come in to testify." And I was like, "Great." And I never heard back. Now, I did find in the FOIA that there is a grand jury subpoena for Rosie that was in fact issued after Mackenzie's arrest. And there are no notes from any sort of conversation that Rosie had with the prosecutor. I think it could be possible that this conversation with the prosecutor was due to the grand jury subpoena. So she's refusing to talk to the police. She gets a grand jury subpoena. The prosecutor calls her, and she does have these 2 phone calls with the prosecutor from what I guess I tend to believe that, right? Now, so far, all signs point to the fact that she probably did talk to the prosecutor because there is a subpoena, which means if she did not cooperate, they could have, like in the David case with Neo, arrested her. Now, does it mean that every time someone doesn't cooperate with the prosecutor after a grand jury subpoena, they're automatically arrested? No. So there's no way to factually say this is correct. It doesn't happen all the time. It's just like you could get arrested if you don't cooperate. But she states that it was after Mackenzie's arrest, and the grand jury subpoena was issued after Mackenzie's arrest.
I see. Okay. So the timeline adds up.
Yes. So it seems like from end of July to November, she doesn't talk to any detective. And then after the grand jury subpoena, it seems like that is when she talks to the prosecutor on these 2 phone calls. So if that's the case, that means Rosie did in fact talk to prosecutors, but it was after being subpoenaed and it was after Mackenzie's arrest. Is kind of what I feel like I can piece together through the FOIA. Right? Now, the prosecutor states to Netflix, "You have no idea how hard I tried to get Rosie Graham to talk to me," which, I mean, it insinuates that Rosie Graham didn't talk, but also it doesn't, because he's just saying like I had to work on this a lot, right? I tried really hard. You have no idea how hard I tried. And then it cuts with him saying to cooperate with me. So you have no idea how hard I tried to get Rosie Graham to talk to me. to cooperate with me. But it's good to hear that she talked to you guys. I'm fascinated to hear what she has to say. He says to talk to me, to cooperate with me. It could be possible that Rosie did talk to the prosecutor, but maybe he said that because she might not have cooperated in the way that he was anticipating.
Okay.
Like the fact that he's saying, I'm fascinated to hear what she has to say. Like maybe there's an insinuation of we did grand jury subpoena her, but maybe they got nothing out of that phone call. Maybe those 2 phone calls, there was nothing that they felt was.
So why didn't she talk to the police and them in the initial 3-4 months?
Yeah. Oh, there's a whole thing. We asked them about that too. Okay. So I do want to note that if there was, these phone calls, it's really hard to verify if they did occur in the sense of, or like even the substance of the phone calls, because if it were to have happened after a grand jury subpoena, a lot of things that are pertaining to grand juries are sealed typically. So it's just like but the wording there is very interesting. How hard he tried to get Rosie Graham to talk to him, to cooperate with him. I'm fascinated to hear what she has to say. Another interesting point is Rosie mentioned to our researchers, quote, and he said, okay, I'm going to call you whenever to come testify. And I was like, great. And I never heard back, which could indicate that the prosecutors felt like she was unhelpful to the prosecution's case. And these are all me just like tinfoil hatting this and coming up with my own opinions. I still want to note, even if this were true in a hypothetical parallel universe, even if Rosie wasn't helpful to the prosecution's case, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that she wasn't cooperating to the best of her abilities. It just means
it wasn't useful.
Yeah. I just tried to verify whatever statement I could with whatever relevant information I could find that is verified through the FOIA. But I want to state conclusively, I can't really prove anything to anyone. Like, I'm just trying to verify people's statements, and this is how my thought process worked. This is how we ended up. As for why Rosie and Bubba were so hesitant to talk to the authorities, because Rosie never talked to the detective. Bubba took just like a long time, like almost, I think he talked to them near October, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just like weeks of the detectives hounding him to sit down for the investigators. They said that they had a very strong reason for why, and they state that it's not to help Mackenzie. They state that there were 7 people there at the night at the gathering of Paul's house. Paul, Nina, Rosie, Bubba, Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion. Dom and Davion obviously can't tell the police what happened that night. Mackenzie's the one being investigated. Paul, Nina, Rosie, and Bubba. Paul actually spoke with the detectives. Bubba says they all had interviews lined up right after Paul. So Paul was the first one to go in for an interview. And then it was going to be like Nina, Rosie, Bubba. Like they all had it lined up and scheduled. And I could actually see on the detective's report, like Rosie had an interview scheduled. But after Paul gets out of his interview, he communicates with the group. And according to Rosie and Bubba, obviously we didn't talk to Paul, but he communicates with them that the interview's not good. They were like, he was basically telling them, this is what they say. Yeah, it's not good in there. And objectively, I didn't find anything necessarily alarming. Granted, I think being asked questions by the police for such a serious investigation and asking about shrooms and purchasing shrooms and tripping, I can understand maybe it heightens someone's emotions and makes people overthink. I do believe that Paul's mom was in the interview room as well, which could heighten the feelings of stress and anxiety when talking about having friends over and smoking weed when your mom is right there and there's investigators in front of you. And it is a very serious matter because 2 people are dead. So I can completely understand the heightened emotions. However, there's nothing particularly stand out about Paul's interview where objectively from a third party, I can say, oh my God, like abort mission, like this is bad, right? But I can see.
So you saw his interview too?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Rosie relayed to us that Paul was kind of getting freaked out by the line of questioning. I could verify this. There were questions about guns.
Guns? Like, do they own guns?
Yes. So they were specifically asking if they ever saw Dom with a gun, if a gun came out that night at the gathering.
Did you ever see him with a gun?
I know he had them. I never saw them.
Right. That night, did anything about a gun come out?
Asking if they'll just look in their backyard and see if they notice anything, which is like kind of like a crazy ask. What does that mean? Yeah, they were like, well, if you see anything in your backyard, like if you see guns, drug paraphernalia, like they were just like, if you see anything.
Do you guys have a backyard? It's like a garden type area. Anything new? Does it look like maybe somebody hid something in there, gun-wise? Yeah, do me a favor. When you go home, just kind of look through your garden.
They were asking if Dom was jealous of Kenzie's friendship with Paul, which Paul is like, well, no, because he knows I'm gay.
Well, he knows I'm gay, so he's,
I mean, I don't think that part is necessarily frightening, but I do think, or at least the way it played out about saying, oh, well, no, Dom's not jealous because he knows I'm gay. But I do think the part about the guns, that probably did freak Paul out. It was like pretty extensive questioning about the guns, and I could see how he communicated that probably to Rosie and Bubba. So I think that the whole gun thing happened because I think Dom owned guns or something of that sort. But there was just a lot of focus on the guns for a brief moment in time in that Paul interview. So I think it did freak Paul out. So I think there was just a lot of things happening. Like they're asking about guns, they're questioning him about drugs that night, and 2 people are dead. And there's just, I think he could be very frightened after this interview. Now, one thing that I did take note of, but I didn't particularly know how to feel about it, was that I did take note that in the interview with Paul, and this is before our researchers spoke with Rosie and Bubba, there was a DEA agent from the Drug Enforcement Administration. Now, the DEA officer mainly gave a whole little like mini lecture at the end of the interview that he's just like, oh, well, don't, weed is not a gateway drug. Drugs are bad. You're going to college. You look like a good kid. Don't be doing drugs. Like, don't be hanging out with the wrong people just because there's talks of them trying to buy shrooms and trying to take shrooms. And so there was just like a whole drugs can ruin your future and your lives type of conversation.
Drugs are kind of my thing.
You? He's a DEA agent.
Oh, okay.
Or you seem like a really good kid.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Very polite, well-spoken, honest. I think you may have some friends that you should be real cautious about. And I think everyone says weed's not a gateway drug, shrooms, this and that. Be careful.
The DEA agent, I don't know why he was there.
Is he here just to talk?
That's what I thought, right? Yeah. But I guess maybe his presence alone, whether it was not important, because sometimes DEA agents will also just like support other investigations.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? But it could also be the fact that there is a drug element to Mackenzie's case. She was found with shrooms on her person and she was charged for drug possession and possessing criminal tools. So it does make sense that maybe a DEA agent is involved. But I think all of these elements, Paul reiterates to Rosie and Bubba, and they said that they were freaked out. They said that they thought this was a drug investigation.
Rosie and Bubba thought this is a drug investigation.
Yes. So I think the way that they framed it or said to our researchers is what Paul told them about his interview. They started all feeling very freaked out that they're investigating not the accident, but drugs and like so like they said that they were feeling hesitant. Listen, I don't know, this is what they're saying. Now Paul tells them that the cops had even like printed out text messages between Rosie and Mackenzie where Rosie that night is like asking to buy weed and shrooms. So I think that freaks Rosie out because she states that freaked her out. Rosie says, so I told my dad's a cop, ex-retired chief or whatever, which they always feel the need to bring up. So she's like saying, people always bring this up as if like I'm part of a cover up. She says, but really it has no play in this besides me being like, well, they're asking about guns and drugs and I don't know anything about that. So she's saying that Paul tells her what happened. She goes to her dad and is like, I don't know. They're like asking about guns and drugs and I don't know anything about guns and drugs. She says her dad speaks with their attorney and the attorney tells them not to talk. Obviously, there's limits to what I can verify about any of the things anybody anywhere is saying, but one thing I could verify from this was that in the police document, it reads that Rosie's dad leaves a voicemail after Paul's interview, canceling his daughter's interview. He doesn't really state a reason. I think at some point they state like mental health, but it is after Paul's interview. So they did
the
have
timeline checks out.
Yes, but I don't know if that's why they canceled the interview, right? This is what they told me or told our researchers is why. But I can't verify. But the timeline does check out. Now, Paul notes something interesting in his interview that when he visited Mackenzie at the hospital after the crash, Natalie Sharilla, Mackenzie's mom, told them not to talk to the cops.
Natalie told Paul.
Yeah.
And everybody.
Yeah. Okay. But he is relaying this to the police.
Okay.
Right. So I think that's, I don't know. Right. So I guess people can interpret that in multiple different ways. But Paul states that he talked to Rosie about all of this. So he's like telling the police like, yeah, I've talked to Rosie about all of this. And he states that Rosie is his best friend. And Paul states to the officers that Rosie does want to talk to them.
How close are you with Rosie? Your best friend.
Have you talked to Rosie about this? Obviously you have.
Yeah.
What's Rosie's take on it? Did Rosie tell you not to talk to us?
No, Rosie wants to talk to you guys also.
Okay.
So like in his interview, before he gets freaked out, like he's mentioning, oh yeah, like Rosie's my best friend. Yeah, she wants to talk to you guys because he knows that she has an interview lined up.
Yeah. I see.
Right.
But after Paul's interview, everything changed.
Yes.
Okay.
So Rosie and Bubba state that they start hearing from others that this is a drug investigation, that since Mackenzie was technically going to bring them shrooms, whether it be through Dom or someone else, right, that there's like a sale of drugs that is going to happen, obviously evidenced by the text messages between Rosie and Mackenzie. They state it seemed like they were trying to like crack down a whole network of people who were purchasing. So that's why they were hesitant to talk to the police, is what they told our researchers. Rosie says in the Netflix documentary,
that's what she said about the drug
investigation. Yes. So our researchers were asking like, but that's like really weird because it was just like you sounded really out of left field in the Netflix talk, being like, they're not looking into the accident, they're looking into the next drug dealer. It was just like very strong of an opinion.
Oh, so that's what she meant.
Rosie says, yeah, basically, yeah. She says that there was a lot more context to that. She told our researchers, quote, when we were filming, they sat me down and asked me in my 8-hour-long interview, one of the questions was, so what was Dom's job? And I kind of looked at them kind of weird because they know what his job was. And I was like, I don't want to say that on camera for everybody, for the whole world. And they literally said to me, oh, the viewers are already going to know in the audience. Like they're going to know that he was sometimes, maybe, perhaps, allegedly, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to say drug dealer. I mean, I guess legally, I don't know, right? But it seems like you're like...
Right. So okay.
Okay, so she says that is what accounts for why my response got simplified down. It seems like they were trying to find the next big drug dealer. So she's saying she was under the impression the Netflix doc would include lots of this. So it didn't look like they were trying to investigate the accident. It looked like they were trying to find the next big drug dealer. She thought there would be a lot of context.
Right.
But instead, there was kind of none.
It was out of context.
I do want to clarify something. I think whatever Dom was doing is completely irrelevant to this entire case. It played no role in the crash. It played no role in the fact that his life was taken at 20 years old. And the only definitive part that really matters in the context of the crash and drugs is that drugs were found on Mackenzie's person. When she was pulled out of the vehicle, they found a whole bag of shrooms on her person. Now, Rosie and Bubba are saying that they were under the impression, like I said, that this is a drug investigation. That's what they're telling us. The police document also notes that the detective did reach out to Bubba's college football coach to try to get Bubba to come in for questions after all of them canceled their interviews. So it does seem like...
What about Nina?
Nina's not really like... They don't really care about Nina.
She didn't do the interview?
No, yeah.
Oh, what? That's weird. She was there.
She was, but I think she like barely knew. So I think Nina is Rosie's friend. Rosie and Mackenzie were the connection, and then Davion and Bubba were the connection. Now, Bubba says the Netflix documentary, I think that from their original idea, the documentary involved too much, I guess, the drug talk in a sense. And I could see it respectfully why the families wouldn't want that out there. But I guess that was their initial direction with this case or with this documentary. And then somewhere down the line, edit changes had to be made or whatnot. And it went a completely different direction. So Bubba is saying like he agrees with Rosie that he was under the impression that this Netflix documentary was going to talk extensively about drugs, the drug investigation, the alleged drug investigation, and all these things.
Oh, so in the doc, it wasn't talked about?
Barely. Just like they were gonna maybe trip.
So everything you just said was not discussed?
Yeah. So they share other stories of why they thought it was a drug investigation. And again, you either believe them or you don't. It's entirely up to you. I actually have no stance on this matter, as I do think it's still kind of irrelevant to the crash itself. But because the internet has been wanting to know why they didn't talk to the police, I guess this is their reasoning, so they state. Bubba says that the police were coming to his college to essentially ask about drugs. Again, furthering his belief, he states that the police were not interested about the night in question, that they were not interested in the car crash, that they were interested in figuring out some sort of nefarious drug network that it doesn't really exist. So he says, quote, after practice, it's the 7th game of the season. They called me up to the coach's office, which is at the top of the Don Drum Stadium. I go up there and they're like, so we've been getting reports. The dean of the college is getting reports that you're involved in a drug trafficking case back at home. And that if you become a suspect and not a victim, we couldn't have that image on the team. Bubba says, I was flabbergasted from that. I was like, drug trafficking? I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because even at this point, anytime the police reached out to me, they would come to my dorm and it was never about drugs. It was always about like, are you being intimidated not to talk to us? Is someone intimidating you not to talk to us about that night? Again, this is one of those things where I could not verify.
But if the school is telling him drug trafficking case involving you, they must gotten that from someone, from the police, right?
Yes, but I can't verify that the school did say that to him. The only thing that I could verify is that the detective did reach out to his football coach.
Let's say if that is true,
Yes.
then what does that mean then? That means potentially there could be investigating for something more.
I think it could have been a dual investigation. I think they could have been running a homicide investigation, and then the DEA agent is in the line of questioning for a lot of these interviews because he could also be running his own investigation into maybe like a high school network of transfer of weed and illicit substances. So I could not verify that conversation, but like I said, I do know that there is mention in police reports that the detectives were reaching out to Bubba's football coach, and it seemed like they were repeatedly going to Bubba's college, and that is kind of noted. It did seem like they were trying to apply pressure to get him to talk, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing on the police's part, but that's just what I could verify. And as for the two officers talking about how Bubba told them, who's gonna intimidate me? I'm big dog, right? That wasn't one of our questions, actually. Like that was not one of my questions. That was not one of our researchers' questions, but it did come up naturally. And Bubba states, I simply told him like I wasn't being intimidated. And he's like, I'm like, no, bro, I'm like 6'2". Like I'm not gonna be intimidated. No one's threatening me like to not talk to the police. I think I said something along the lines of like, I'm big dog at home. Like he says it wasn't meant in any way. It was more of just like, I'm the second biggest kid in our high school. The first one just went to the Detroit Lions this year in the draft. I was the second biggest in the school after him. So he was explaining to our researchers, like when he said I'm big dog, he wasn't trying to be like, I'm top dog, I'm the shit. Like no one messes with me. He was like, it seemed more like he was trying to say like,
he's like, I'm just a big
I'm like
dude.
a fucking big dude. Like I don't think. And he's trying to express to them he's not being intimidated. But again, this is not information I can verify. He says he eventually chose to talk to the police because he was reassured it was not a drug trafficking case.
So at what point did you say it was October?
Yeah, around October.
I see.
So the line of questioning would be about the crash. So that's when he goes in and he sits with the police. Now, regardless, Rosie and Bubba state that they both spoke with the authorities. Rosie with the prosecutor, Bubba with the detective. And they state that their whole hesitancy came from the fact, not because they were trying to help Mackenzie, not because they were trying to cover up anything from that night, but because they state they believe that the police were investigating drug trafficking. Yeah, and Rosie states that she even received a phone call from a DEA agent after Mackenzie's arrest stating, I heard you're involved in a drug investigation from 2022. I couldn't verify that, obviously, and since we had Rosie and Bubba on the line, we just wanted to ask them all the questions that kept circulating on TikTok. I'm just going to tell you pretty much verbatim what they said. I'm going to try to take out as much of the rambling for clarity's sake. These were their responses. And of course, they are going to advocate for themselves. So we did try to fact check as much as we could through the police reports. But like I said, when it's unverifiable, I'm just going to state that outright. About their friendship dynamic, they state that they have been hanging out with Davion for years, since Bubba and Davion played high school football together. As for Mackenzie, Rosie just started hanging out with her and Dom. Quote, just a few months prior to the accident, we just randomly started hanging out every day, back to back. Next day, she would call me, like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And what are we gonna do? And so that's, why I feel like I can speak from a point of like, a lot of people want to say there's crazy internet speculation. And a lot of people say, how could you not know their relationship was so toxic? But personally, we just didn't really see that side of them. I mean, as I said, we only started hanging out with them in the months prior. So she's saying like, I'm not like, I didn't know them for years. And that was another thing online. A lot of people were saying things along the lines of, well, I mean, we are all bashing Rosie, but at least she's a ride or die best friend to Mackenzie, and we would all probably want a ride or die best friend. Rosie states that she actually is just like a recent friend with Mackenzie. She states that while they did hang out every day for a few months because they had gotten to know each other a few months before the crash, she states it's not like they're best friends. She states that she already has her best friends. She has her really close friend group, and Mackenzie is new to the friend group. She states that she does not feel the need to cover up for her or anything. Rosie states that it just wouldn't make sense for her to lie and stand by Mackenzie because they're not really best friends like that. Rosie states it seems like the internet is all accusing her of covering up for Mackenzie, but she states that she doesn't have a reason to cover up for Mackenzie because they're not even best friends. Now, in the FOIA file, I mean, I tried my best to verify. There is a little over 600 pages of text messages between Mackenzie and Rosie. We did read through all of it just to figure out what kind of friendship it was. It was kind of a bizarre friendship. So, for example, July 6, 2022, Mackenzie texts Rosie, do you like matcha? Rosie responds, my mom's being really annoying and I have to go shopping with her to get food. I asked her for food money and she started arguing with me. Mackenzie responds, oh damn, come next time. And also like you post yourself in a bikini and like show your butt, but like if I did that, my whole TikTok would be getting fucking banned. I'm so jealous. Yeah, I need to get money, bruh. I don't even know what I'm gonna do to get famous. Oh my God, I don't know why they do that to certain people. Dude, we're perfect duo to be famous. This is 25 days before the crash. Rosie tries to sympathize with Mackenzie about her TikTok that keeps getting banned. They banned like 3 of your accounts, I feel like, and literally like we're gonna be on our model shit. Mackenzie sends Rosie a picture and says, this is what got removed. Rosie explains that she tried to send Mackenzie a TikTok, but they banned Mackenzie, so it's too late. Your account is there, but no profile pic and I can't DM. Mackenzie's freaking out like, oh my God, they took my profile pic? Should I go private? I hope they don't ban my whole account. That happened to me the other day, and then it just went back to normal. Mackenzie will then send Rosie, I'm making a media kit, you gotta tell me if it's good. Side note, this is Mackenzie's media kit, by the way, and she writes, my name is Kenzie Shirella. I'm a petite model from Cleveland, Ohio. I love to express my personality through fashion and photography. One of my goals on social media is to help people be themselves and embrace the style they love. I'm extremely body inclusive. I would love for brands to be more inclusive to the smaller sizes as well as the larger sizes. I'm extremely big on healthy living, clean brands, organic food. And then Mackenzie will just like suddenly text Rosie, do you know you can order animal shit anonymously to people's houses? Like when I say animal, I'm talking like elephant shit, like that, or lion. 7 hours later, Mackenzie is asking Rosie, how much do you make from TikTok? Rosie's like, it depends. If I have a good month, like good videos that month, the most was like 150. Sometimes it's like 40. Mackenzie's like, dude, I'm jealous. I need to get in on that fund. I have $88 from going live. I want more. Oh my God, I've never made anything going live, only from the creator fund. And so there's like just like rants about TikTok, mainly Mackenzie complaining. She complains that someone reported her account for being under 14. She has Rosie fill out something that's going to help confirm that she's not under 14. Rosie writes, okay, I filled it out and said hella about how you're an influencer, literally graduated high school and you're being mass reported for being 13 when you're not even, and none of your content violates anything and it's your job, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Mackenzie writes, I love you so much and bruh, tomorrow's going to be so fun. Yes, they better give you your fucking account. I'll fuck someone up. They better. I'm manifesting. Mackenzie complains, literally, I don't even know how I'm gonna get my followers back. Honestly, just push out hella good content because they love you and new accounts tend to blow up. I'm so sad about this account. Fuck TikTok. Mackenzie is very nice to the people that have the things she wants. So for Rosie, it seems like it's the followers. Rosie had at that point like 200,000 followers on TikTok and YouTube. Mackenzie never really got more than a few thousand. So her attitude towards Rosie seems vastly different from how she treats other people that she doesn't really want anything from. I mean, like you saw the way that she was texting people and DMing people and just being a brat. She doesn't seem to show that side to Rosie. So I was kind of surprised by that in the 600 pages. I was just trying to figure out the depth of their friendship. And it seems like they just like share weird ideas back and forth. Mackenzie will text Rosie, you should make a TikTok vlog of you tripping. Okay, this one I thought was a little weird.
What? Why?
Yeah, because exactly. Mackenzie has been complaining about how TikTok has been banning her account nonstop. And then all of a sudden she's like, you should make a TikTok vlog of you tripping, which is, I'm like,
Why?
are you trying to sabotage? Like, it was weird. Not that I'm like defending anyone, but like, it's just like a weird.
What kind of suggestion is
Yeah,
it?
which
What?
feels sabotagey to me, but I don't know. And then she hits it with an LOL, to which Rosie responds, LMFAO, I want to so bad, but my mom has TikTok and I blocked her, but her weird ass would make another account. SMH, I wish I could post shit like that too. My mom follows me too. And just some like random texts from Mackenzie that read, yeah, this fucking Thursday, bitch, we're about to look bad as fuck. And another one from Mackenzie, I feel like you're gonna be scared at my driving. We're the exact opposite. So this Mackenzie is picking up Rosie, and Rosie is expressing how it's nice to be driven once because she's usually the one picking people up. And Mackenzie tells her, but like, I love to drive too, but I'm crazy though. And Mackenzie is just kind of yapping. Another text says, I think I'm gonna make a YouTube, but I don't know what to record on or what videos to make. Later, they joke about tripping on shrooms at the carnival, which Mackenzie thinks is, quote, bro, euphoria moment. Rosie says, no, literally. Mackenzie says, I'm excited. To summarize, nearly all 600 pages felt like variations of, yes, you're so hot. No, I love you. No, you're the cutest. No, fuck, why is your mom being annoying? Your TikTok got banned? I'm so pissed for you. It felt like, I will say, not like a particularly deep friendship. There was no personal conversation. There was no much relatability. Much of their friendship is based off of taking photos of each other. Mackenzie texts Rosie. That's what I'm saying. The pictures are going to be fire. I don't care if people are staring. If they're not talking about pictures, they're talking about social media. Rosie will text Mackenzie, bro, when you were banned yesterday, your baby cushy account was on my FYP like 3 times every time I open TikTok. Mackenzie responds, no way. Same with you, to be honest. Your videos are all over my FYP. And then Rosie would respond, oh my God, work. We're famous. Mackenzie says, I need to hit 100K. Yes, you will. You should try scripting with that. Like when I was popping on YouTube, I was manifesting by writing every day. I have however many followers or subscribers, or this video got this many views, and it works like a charm. Bruh, keep manifesting. I'm manifesting my account back right now. Rosie's like, yes, I haven't scripted in so long. I feel like it works the best. Mackenzie's like, I would usually write on paper then burn. And then Mackenzie informs Rosie that she's going to take on the nearly impossible task of cooking for herself. She texts, I'm going to try to make myself an egg. It's embarrassing, but I don't know how to do it. LOL. This is like kind of one of the more in-depth conversations they have. Rosie responds, ew, not an egg to eat. I hate eggs. Yes, LOL. I like the gooey. Haha, I'm done with eggs, bro. I used to love them. True. Is that like vegan to you? Rosie says, I'm such a hater. Yes, like I'm almost vegan if I didn't eat cheese. I only eat eggs if they're grass-fed, free range, no hormones. Mackenzie says, though, I'm not going to make them. I don't want you to smell when you come because I would hate that. And Rosie's like, ha 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 ha, no, you're okay. Mackenzie says, I'm weird as fuck with smells. I'm good with smells. Dude, you can try sea moss. Oh my God, yes. Do you want Chipotle? I'll make Dom go get you some too. I'm okay, bet.
So they never fought in the text? Like, you know how Mackenzie will crash out and...
No, and I think it's literally because, well... Here's me speculating, but I do think that Mackenzie is very kind to people who she thinks will help her get what she wants.
Yeah, because she cares about herself the most, right?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So she's very polite and just supportive?
Yeah, other than the only part where I was like, weird, was when Mackenzie was like, you should make a vlog of yourself tripping. It felt a little sabotagey. After all of her rants about getting banned on TikTok for doing nothing, and then she's like, hey... violate community guidelines right now. It was just it was weird. Okay.
And you think that's why Rosie responds, describes Mackenzie in that way? Is because of that's kind of the friendship she has with?
Yes, I think it would be understandable to see where Rosie is coming from in how she describes her relationship with Mackenzie and how she specifically felt about Mackenzie. I think the part that people might have problems with for sure is the fact that you didn't know her that long and you had more of a surface level friendship, and yet it does seem like she has a lot of hope and faith in Mackenzie's that this was an accident. Like they don't 100% think it's an accident, at least from what they told our researchers, in the sense of like they're dead set, like this was an accident. They're not like Mackenzie and Mackenzie's parents. They are more so, they stayed on the side of, I think it's completely understandable for Rosie to speak on her friendship with Mackenzie. And it does seem like Mackenzie was a very nice friend to Rosie to some degree, at least in the 600-page text message thread. But I think where people have a problem is when she uses this shorter friendship to kind of...
Like a character judgment of Mackenzie?
Yes, exactly. So I think...
Because you don't know Mackenzie well enough to...
And just because she was nice to you for 5-6 months doesn't mean that you can really wholeheartedly 10 toes down talk about her character, I think is what people are feeling and saying. I think that's why, there's like kind of the weird argument of people are saying like, would it be better if they were best friends forever? Because then it's like, you can kind of understand where it's like, maybe you grew up together and you're like, so this is your only friend. I don't know.
But I wonder if it's like long-term friend, like then you can really see the pattern of someone. You're like, I can see her doing that because she's crazy. Like,
but then if you just know someone for like a short period and they're so nice to you, maybe. But that's the argument that people have online, which is like you can have those feelings, but you can't really be a character witness. Also, side note, Rosie at one point is like complaining about TikTok banning her randomly and then like unbanning her or whatever. And then she says, I don't understand their stupid ass app. Okay, this is Rosie. Mackenzie responds, oh, that's so weird. It's probably because it's run by Asians.
Mackenzie?
Yeah. They rant about their boyfriends together. Rosie will text Mackenzie about Bubba, her boyfriend. We're fighting. This motherfucker is so annoying. Like, why am I even with him? Mackenzie's like, what'd he do? oh, we're still coming, but he's always fucking arguing. Like, shut the fuck up. Stop bringing stuff up that you know is about to start an argument. To which Mackenzie responds, remember, you're the top dog, bitch. Tell him to shut the fuck up if he says anything when you're here. Yeah, period. So it doesn't seem like they talk in depth about their relationships. Like, these are very, like, no, you're the baddest bitch. You don't need him. Like, it's very, okay, thanks.
They don't go in depth.
Yeah. Now, they also contemplate why their boyfriends are so bad at taking pictures. Mackenzie wonders, why are they like this? Rosie says, I'm better off with a tripod. Mackenzie also just rants about everyone, generally speaking. You know, she even sends Rosie this audio message where she says, quote, I'm just going to send you this voice memo because it's easier.
I'm just gonna send you a voice memo because it's easier. But like, so the second party we went to on the 4th, fucking like, it was like Strongsville popular people. Like, I don't even know. It was open invite, like this big ass mansion. That's why I was like, you guys need to come because like somebody was asking about Bubba, and then I was like, oh, I invited Rosie and them, but I don't know what they're gonna do. Fucking Haley, DePompe, and Megan and all them were there.
And all of them were there. Haley came up to me and was like, she's like, please don't hate me. Literally being like, don't hate me, don't hate me, don't hate me, don't hate me. And I was like,
Haley, like, you made a TikTok about me, like, I seen it. And then she was, like, playing dumb. And I'm like, Haley, I actually, like, have the TikTok. Like, and I showed her, and she was like, I'm gonna be real with you, I made it. I'm like, Haley, like, I know you made it. Like, that's fucking weird. Like, only insecure people make fun of people. And I was like, look, we can just set that beside this because, like, whatever, you're drunk, it's, like, cool. And then she was like, we need to hang out, like, trying to be all cool with me.
So even when she rants about people, it's not as, like, intense as how she does with other friends so far from what I've seen. Like, she's not saying, like, that stupid bitch needs to go back to Subway. Like, she's not really, you know, but it's just, like, weird. Mackenzie rants about how, quote, this person is making me so mad right now, driving 27 in a 35. That's about it. Like, there's not really much substance to their friendship, and you do with that information what you will. Rosie tells Netflix, I genuinely do not think that this could have been on purpose, intentional, or planned. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. We were all friends. Rosie tells Netflix, I was with them every single day, and there wasn't daily arguments. It wasn't like anything crazy like that. Rosie states to our researchers, it's so weird because now I'm just seeing people online making fun of me for saying, oh, we had the best friend group, but it really was like a really chill vibe. And up until even that night, we were doing the stuff that we would normally do, watching TV, watching movies, going outside, just talking, listening to music. It's like a lost art form, and nobody even does that anymore. And it was like we would do these wholesome things, and it just feels like a lot of the toxic relationship drama is kind of sweeping that up. Like we somehow were involved in any of that or saw it and genuinely never saw anything like that. And if we ever did hear anybody threaten anybody, or if they were arguing that night, or if they were arguing about anything, we would be the first people to say that. I would not sit here and defend something or just lie about what now is a double homicide or about my friends losing their lives in general.
Does Rosie know the depth, the truth of, you know, how Mackenzie's relationship actually is with Don? You know, all the texts and all of that you've shared so far? Or you don't know that information?
So Rosie does mention the text messages in the 2-hour-long conversation, but it was more of the sense of she is stating like she told the prosecutor what she saw that night. And she is telling people that she did not see them argue extensively. Like she did not see them have a toxic relationship. She's saying two things can be true though. She's saying like, obviously, I didn't see those text messages. Like she's saying like, obviously I don't have their phones.
Oh, so she's saying that she actually doesn't know they have a toxic relationship.
Or, okay, her thing is more so people are trying to break down why she's telling people that she did not witness a toxic relationship. But Rosie is saying, but I'm only speaking on what I witnessed when I was around them, which was they did not have a toxic relationship, she states. But then she also acknowledges, because like I'm not seeing their text messages when it's happening. So, you know, people are asking her in that time frame that you knew Mackenzie and Dom, did they have a toxic relationship? She's saying no, because she's like, I didn't witness any toxic relationship. And then she's also saying, but also I don't like have their text messages. Like I can't like go through her phone. She's like saying like,
so she's basically saying she never saw it. She didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think her frustration, it seems, because she was expressing it to the researchers, is like she is trying to tell people, people are asking her, what did you witness? She's saying, I'm telling you what I witnessed. And they're like, no, because we saw the text messages. And then she's saying, well, I didn't see the text messages at the time that you're asking me.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what she's saying.
Yeah. So all the all the videos we've seen of Rosie talking about is she didn't know.
Yes.
It's basically what.
But I don't know how she stands. I don't know if she's standing. I don't know how much of the text messages she's seen now. I don't know if she thinks that they had a toxic relationship or if this is a normal toxic relationship for high schoolers in her mind. I don't know. Rosie states that the only nice responses that she really receives now after the Netflix documentary is like, okay, well, I guess you're a good friend, though, for keeping her secrets and defending her because you love her so much. And Rosie states that she is not doing that. She says, literally, the whole online response is every single person just thinks I'm lying or covering up something for her, and I would never, ever cover up a murder. That is insane.
So what made people think she's covering for Mackenzie again? Is it
the hesitancy to talk to the police?
Oh, okay.
And it does seem that Rosie does not think that Mackenzie did this intentionally. And I think that makes people question Rosie because a lot of people have seen the FOIA file. A lot of people have heard from Dom's family members. They just don't see why Rosie could say that having such a shorter friendship with Mackenzie. And then I guess people are also confused because they're like, okay, well, Rosie and Bubba were closer to Dom. So people who support and don't support Mackenzie are going to have different opinions about this. The argument is that Rosie and Bubba were closer to Davion. And the fact that like Mackenzie supporters will say, see, that's because like they see what they see, which is they think is the truth. They're like, because, you know, they have no allegiance to Mackenzie, but they still kind of support Mackenzie to some degree because they think the evidence is weird. But then people who don't like them are like, what the fuck? I will say that there are like 2 points in the text messages where Mackenzie complains about her relationship with Dom. But from judging by Rosie's responses, again, none of them are kind of taken seriously. Rosie does say that they had conversations in person, but I don't know. It's just like there's not a lot of depth. So I can see maybe why she's saying that she didn't see it at that time. I don't know.
And it does sound like Mackenzie take everything twisted to her side and
yes.
tells it like this is what happened versus
yes.
what really happened.
Of course. And Mackenzie is also kind of fickle. So like there will be one time where she's texting Rosie about how she got into a huge fight with Dom and she's like ranting about Dom, but it's like very vague. It's like, oh, he's so dumb. Like he's so blah, 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 blah. And then Rosie's like, oh no. And then Mackenzie will text, you want to come to Dom's? If you want, we can take dabs. Which like, why would anyone want to go there if they're fighting? So Rosie is like, LMAO, it's okay. You don't want to come? Should I? Yeah, you can come. Okay. He lied to me, so I'm gonna smoke all his dabs. So then Rosie is like, haha, period. So it's like very, like, it doesn't, yeah. But again, the main reason we wanted to talk to Rosie and Bubba is to ask them what happened that night. I mean, there's no way that you can definitively know the truth, but there were 2 people that were there, and this is what they've had to say about that night in question. They state that Mackenzie and Dom were not fighting that night at Paul's, and they state it's frustrating that the documentary painted it as if Rosie and Bubba were the only 2 others at the party or the gathering, but they're saying there's 2 other people, Paul and Nina. So I guess they're expressing to our researchers, like, what would all 4 of us gain out of like lying about them not fighting that night? They're like, it doesn't like make sense why people are like, no, they definitely fought that night. Like they're confused why nobody believes them when they say there was no fighting that night. Bubba says he was awake with the guys most of the night. Like they were all on the couch. So it was Bubba, Davion, Dom, and Mackenzie. And they were just like watching TV. Mackenzie was falling asleep. He says that, oh, there was one thing that he mentioned, which is like right when Mackenzie, Davion, and Dom arrived to Paul's house, within a little bit, Mackenzie and Dom leave briefly. So they go back to Dom's house. And Bubba says they were gone for like 15, 30 minutes because, quote, they all ate healthy, like they ate non-GMO. So they would always have like special snacks. And they ended up having to go back home like 10 minutes after they got there to grab their snacks, to grab popcorn and to grab, I think it was like blueberries or some shit. That's what he says. But then they ended up going back to grab those separately. So they leave Davion.
Yeah.
And they went in the car, and when they came back, it was still perfectly fine. So he was like, yeah, they were gone for 15 minutes, but he doesn't think that they were fighting in that time because it didn't seem like they came back tense. Like it seemed like they were in a happy mood when they got back. But I guess his thing was, if Mackenzie had planned to kill Dom, why wouldn't she have done it on that drive? I guess is maybe the insinuation, because he's like, you know, that's a whole thing that's completely left out about that night. But again, like I said, a lot of netizens don't think it was like pre-planned days in advance. It was more so like maybe an argument broke out in the car on the way home. Maybe an argument did not break out when they went to go grab snacks. So the next morning, they wake up, Mackenzie wakes up. A lot of the others hadn't gone to sleep. Bubba and Davion have plans. Bubba says Davion was going to help him, quote, paint the bottom of my truck and paint it black and get all the rust off and everything. And we were going to do that. And he was like, oh, I could just come back to your house so we could wake up and do it. And I was like, I mean, that's fine with me. And then at the last moment, so he's supposed to go home with Bubba, sleep at Bubba's, and then do it. But then at the last minute, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go home, aka Dom's, shower, sleep, like we'll hit each other up maybe around noon. Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion get into the car. The two don't make it. A huge conversation online since the release of the documentary. And it's not necessarily what was said in the documentary, but people looking into the case. There have been conversations, like I said, from those police reports of other interviews of friends, just like hearsay, that Rosie stated to someone that she drove by the crash site that morning before the police were called. And whether she didn't see it or didn't call the police, like that's been like a huge conspiracy online, right? Our researchers asked Rosie, and Bubba says, look, the police have video of Mackenzie's car turning onto Progress. Okay, that turn. And if anybody else went that route, they knew anyone in the car, they would see it in camera. Like Bubba says, it's obvious from a logical standpoint that this is not true, and somehow the media is running with it. So we kept pressing them on it because we're just like, well, we just want to know where this is coming from. And they state that there's a supposed friend who had gone to the police and said that Rosie was super emotional and had made a comment about how she drove past them that morning on her way home from Paul's. So she also left Paul's, drove by the crash site, and like that's also making her even more emotional now that, you know, she knows they're dead. So they're explaining like, okay, basically, and this is verified through the police interview, there's someone who went to the police and was like, you know, Rosie was mentioning how she was so emotional because she also left Paul's that morning and drove by the crash site on her way home. So like, it's kind of up in the air what that means. But a lot of people on the internet took it with she drove by the crash site. Like she saw the car or could have seen the car. Maybe she didn't look out the window, but drove by that exact road where the car was crashed into the building. That's how everyone's taking it. And of course, a lot of people are spinning it in the more nefarious way and saying like, she drove by, saw Mackenzie's car and was like, holy shit, Mackenzie actually went through with it. So she doesn't call the cops and she just keeps driving home. And then because maybe she feels guilt, maybe she feels all these emotions, she mentions it at like one of the vigils and it becomes the whole thing. It gets reported to the police. So we're like, we just need to know, where were you? Like, where was they pretty much like got a Google Maps explanation, gave it to the researchers. They're like, we live here. This is where Bubba lives. This is where Rosie lives. Like they were giving the full breakdown of the entire town. Now, if we deduce the main points, Rosie had gotten up. So Rosie had slept. So she gets up and she's like gathering her stuff. She had gotten up to use the restroom. She's gathering her coloring books. And eventually her and Bubba are like, let's go. Like, we want to sleep in the bed. Like, let's go to Bubba's house. And they said that they were going to go to Bubba's and they were going to both sleep and wake up later around noon. Because remember, Davion was like, oh yeah, I'm going to come help you with your car around noon.
Yeah.
So they both drove separately to Paul's. Bubba gets in his car and Rosie gets in her car. Her whole thinking was Bubba's parents are pretty strict, so they don't let her sleep over, but it's daytime. So like technically she can take naps. So like this is kind of like a nap. So then she drives to Bubba's house and she states that when she gets there, Bubba's mom has COVID. So she's like, you know what? Maybe not smart for me, so forget it. I'm just going to drive home. So she gets to Bubba's and then decides she's going to drive home. And the only way for her to drive home is using really the main road, which is Pearl, not Progress, Pearl. Pearl is the main road. Like this is where all the restaurants are. This is where the Starbucks is. Apparently there's so much traffic on Pearl, but Pearl. She passes the entrance of Progress where Mackenzie had turned right. She passes the entrance. She does not go on to Progress ever.
Got it.
That's what she says. Now she passes the entrance and she also like is saying if I had and I wasn't like talking to the police, she's like, I guess the argument is like the police would have known and they would have.
Yeah. That would be a crazy
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah. And there's like no mention of it anywhere, right? Yeah. She thinks that this rumor could have started because everyone was gathered at the crash site, like 50 or 100 people after the car was taken and there was flowers. It was like a vigil that was set up and a lot of the high schoolers would just kind of hang out there because it was a way to grieve together and not alone. And she says, maybe somebody there heard that I drove down Pearl and maybe it got mistranslated and everybody there is just obviously like trying. I mean, there was just a bunch of rumors going around to everybody trying to speculate on what had happened. So she states that she never specifically spoke to the person that told the police this, but she thinks maybe that's how this whole story got started. Because I can see that. I could see Rosie being emotional and like mentioning like, I was just driving down Pearl on the way home.
Yeah.
And I passed the entrance, and then it just kind
makes
of,
sense.
yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. And this is less pertinent information, but I thought it was interesting, okay? But Rosie told us that on the drive home from Bubba's, she's driving down the main road, passing the entrance of Progress, not on Progress, but passing the entrance. And she said that she was getting really emotional. So the whole theme of the night at Paul's, and technically all of this it was a graduation party, and they've been going to all these grad parties. She says, we're going to college soon. We were all locked in to go to different colleges. Me and Nina were going to a college that was like 2.5 hours away. Bubba was going to a college that was 2 hours away. So it was just kind of a lot of stress. And then Kenzie and Dom weren't going to college, and neither was Davion. And our friend Paul was going somewhere else. So it was just like everybody was getting separated. So the whole theme of that night for us was just like everybody was getting separated. And we're going to college kind of scared. We're going to leave home and we're going to have to make new friends. So on my drive home, I'm literally reflecting on the fact that this city that I'm driving through, because as I said, this is the main road. I have so many memories in this city. I'm passing by the carnival that we went to. I'm passing by all this stuff, and I'm literally like crying in the car.
Rosie's crying?
Yeah. That's what she says, right? I mean, this is obviously like an anecdotal story that is not relevant to the case, but she's just like was giving us a lot of context. And she says like there was this beautiful sunrise and it felt like a warm summer morning, that's the only thing I could fact check, which the sunrise and the time that she's driving home does check out. And she says, I have all my windows down and I'm not even playing any music. And I'm just like, wow, this city isn't so bad. And I have a nice friend group now. But then also kind of sad because now we're all going to separate colleges and I have to try and find new friends in college. And she says, I feel like when I was growing up, we're like, I hate this city. Everybody sucks here. Like, this place sucks. And then I finally had a moment where I was like, maybe it's not that bad. Like, maybe I'm going to miss it here. And then I got home, I went to sleep, and I got woken up by a phone call from Bubba. And he was just like bawling his eyes out, and I couldn't even understand what he was saying. She mentions how she told this all to the Netflix documentary producers, and they actually wanted to film a whole scene. So they were like planning on doing a whole, like a recreation of the sunrise moment where she's driving, right? But she says, I don't know how it all just ended up getting cut out. Side note, it seems that Bubba found out about the crash because Davion had been staying with Bubba's for a little bit, and the head football coach had called Bubba's mom asking if she had heard the news about Bubba. Bubba was waiting for Davion, so he was actually outside in the driveway prepping his truck for Davion to come and to help with the truck. So he said that he was trying to make sure the lines were straight, doing all the prep work under the truck, and then, quote, that's when my mom came out and told me, and yeah, it was just a mess after that. Ultimately, Bubba states multiple times throughout this call, Mackenzie was not my friend. And I know this might sound harsh or it might come off as a bad way, but if she would have lost her life in that accident, or some like really excruciating evidence came out and she got booked for like 30 years to life and it was a harsher sentence than what she has now, it would not affect me in any way. I would not care. Mackenzie was not my friend. She was more of Rosie's friend. They always did their thing, like when we always hung out. I mean, I've had a handful of conversations with her. I was never her friend. Davion was the closest thing to a brother for me since him living with me. I own one of his football jerseys. He got buried in the other one. He was truly the closest thing to a blood brother to me. So my whole stance on this is I just want to know the truth. The reality of it, at least for me, I don't care how long she sits in jail. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is knowing the true story of knowing how they lost their lives. Rosie has, side note about, there was a lot of, people thought that Rosie was doing the Netflix documentary for social media attention, and they do bring up her social media handles. And there's like parts where Rosie is like, oh yeah, when I met Mackenzie, I had 200,000 followers on YouTube, right? Rosie says she wanted the producers to not include any of her social media. She says that it was irrelevant to the case because it's not like they were doing videos together, and she's mainly on YouTube doing her fitness stuff, and that has nothing to do with Mackenzie. So she said that she didn't want any of it on there, but then the producers during the 8 hours were asking her what she does for work, and then they would ask her like, oh, how many followers did you have when you first met Mackenzie? And she says, but you have to understand, like, I sat down and they asked me all these things and I just answered. I wasn't being careful with the questions I was answering. I was literally answering every question. There wasn't one question that I didn't answer, basically. So she's stating that she did not do the Netflix doc for Fame. She said that she specifically requested it not be included. And then they were like asking her, so she was just answering. Bubba states that he has text messages with the documentary crew stating that Rosie's social media is not relevant. So he's also confirming like, okay, we're not going to use her social media, right? Because they're dating still. And so he's like just checking in, like Rosie wants to make sure. So it seems like he's saying that he has some sort of text messages with the documentary crew talking about how Rosie's social media isn't relevant. I did not see that text message, but that's what he told us. Now, I do want to note that there are members of Dom and Davion's family that do not seem to appreciate what Rosie and Bubba have been saying, what they said in the Netflix documentary, and maybe things that have been said and done behind closed doors. I could imagine that they probably didn't appreciate maybe Bubba talking about the pendulum in the police interview. Like, I could see how that could be highly offensive to Davion's family as well. Rosie and Bubba state that they just want to know the truth of what happened. They express wishes that the trial could have been what they believe to be fair. They didn't necessarily think the trial was fair. They thought that Mackenzie's attorney was not that competent. They didn't like the fact that the defense did not call in an expert. So there was no expert called in to testify that Mackenzie's POTS could have played or couldn't have played a role. So the trial only lasted 4 days. So they just felt like they don't definitively feel like they know what happened in the car that night, is how they state they feel. And while they do think that they would like a new trial, they also express like they know it would just open so many wounds for the victims' families. So like it seems like they get it. Rosie also says she feels like the families, quote, took us originally canceling those interviews as really suspect. And she says, recently, I didn't even know this happened, but they put it in the evidence file that Davion's mom emailed the police and was like, Rosie made this TikTok about somebody betraying her. And I'm assuming it's about Bubba because he's cooperating with the police, remember? And she says, I had no idea they were just taking my random TikToks. And I was following these TikTok trends. I had no idea that they connected the random videos and matched it up with me intimidating people to not speak with the police. I think she felt that way because she thought that I wasn't cooperating. Rosie says, we definitely, thinking back now, we should have just sat down and talked to the police the second everybody else did because everybody says that's somehow suspect. And we literally only canceled it because we really did not want to be involved in some big drug bust, especially when we have no credible knowledge. Obviously, Rosie being there for Halloween of 2022 and dressing up with Mackenzie as Playboy Cardi doesn't necessarily make Dom and Davion's family want to be more receptive to what they have to say either, to which Rosie says, so in the documentary, Rosie, there's this point where they show the Halloween picture and she's just like, it's Playboy Cardi. Anyone my age knows it's Playboy Cardi. So it's not really touched upon that was fucked up. So Rosie's just like, it's not a corpse, it's Playboy Cardi, right? And so Rosie was saying, yeah, I think they immediately, the family, labeled me as like, oh, you're her crazy best friend and don't hold anybody accountable and you guys are going around dressing as corpses or whatever, a few months after. And the matter of fact about that is, and they edited it down in the documentary to just like, oh, we just dressed as Playboy Cardi. But it was really like, no, like we really shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have done that. I was irresponsible. I don't know. We were in college and there's so many things that I would have done differently in hindsight, not knowing how this was all going to play out. But there is a part where she kind of tries to explain their thought process, where she was like, at this point, Mackenzie was trying to do a lot of things for Dom and Davion. So she was explaining like how they had all planned to go visit Rosie at her college for Halloween because Ohio University is known for having the craziest Halloween, and that Dom loves Playboy Cardi. And there was like this explanation about it, which I feel like I did try my best to keep a neutral presentation thus far. And this is where I would have to voice my very strong disagreement. I think it's good that Rosie realized that they definitely shouldn't have done that because it is, like she said, irresponsible. And they've all said that they believed that Halloween was a way to celebrate Dom and Davion's lives, and that even Mackenzie going to the Kid Cudi concert was a way to celebrate Dom. Maybe that's truly how they felt in their hearts as it's happening, but I think the core issue with the Halloween and Kid Cudi and all of that is it's just insensitive. It doesn't matter who you say you're doing it for. She could have been bawling her eyes out the entire time at all of these events. I don't think it's the morally correct thing to do. I don't think many of us could ever be in Mackenzie's shoes and do something like that. They stayed off their personal observations. They do not believe this was an incident where Mackenzie pre-planned an intentional murder plot. But they also state that even if it was some sort of freak accident or reckless driving, they both believe that prison time is still warranted. Rosie says, at the end of the day, the prison time is unarguable, and people do get arrested for killing people in car accidents all the time. I mean, it's not like anybody should just get away scot-free with nothing. She states that she thinks everyone just took it the complete opposite way and went crazy with the theories, but she says she thinks that there should be prison time, but that they should maybe factor in that she was only 17 and lost her boyfriend and friend. Bubba states that the only thing that would make prison time questionable would be if they could absolutely prove that there was some medical incident. Which, side note, I will say there were talks with our researchers, and I did see a lot of people bring this up, including Steve Sharilla brings this up later in a recent interview, that Dom's family were powerful in the area. Dom's mom is a criminal defense attorney, Christine Russo, and she did work for the prosecutor's office, and so she might know a lot of people. The judge that was presiding over the case, her last name is Russo. I don't think that there's any sort of, neither do Rosie and Bubba. They don't think that there's any sort of familial relation, because that would be
crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy, right? But I think that there are conversations of like, how much sway did Christine Russo have in all of this? I don't know. A lot of people, including Rosie and Bubba, point out how Christine Russo was talking to the police in an interview, and she said something along the lines of like, I know Mackenzie's defense attorney. Like, I don't need to worry about him. Like, he's not a concern. I know his brother, and she's just saying like, he's not a problem. He's not a problem. And some people have kind of interpreted this as like, he's not a problem because I know him. Like, I know him. I'm going to make sure he's not a problem. I actually did not interpret it like that. I actually interpret it as she's clearly an analytical woman. She's a criminal defense attorney. I could see her trying to understand a lot of and there are defense attorneys who are problematic, who are problems, because they will go there and they will say some crazy shit, and they'll try to pull out all the craziest, they'll do motion after motion after motion, like just drowning the whole case in just unnecessary paperwork. Like, I think it was meant so more like that.
Yeah.
I don't think she would ever say that to the police when it's about her son's life and death.
Yeah.
I will note that Bubba has voiced out again multiple times he could care less what happens to Mackenzie. Rosie has stated that she does not think that Mackenzie is this evil monster and did not care about either of these boys, or that she premeditated the whole thing or did it on purpose, and this is what I've gathered from reading through every single page of the 30,000 page document of text messages between Mackenzie and Dom. And I only say this because there's really no better way for me to try to explain the feeling that I had reading those messages. Not that my feelings are important in this matter, but those messages felt more akin to a domestic violence situation, where the relationship is so incredibly toxic, and just the sheer oppressive nature of Mackenzie's text messages to specifically Dom and only Dom, and how she speaks to him, to me felt abusive. To me, if I was in that relationship, or my friend was in that relationship with someone like Mackenzie, I would be scared for them. But Mackenzie could be very well sweet to Rosie and Bubba and portrayed herself differently, because that's also very typical in domestic violence situations. Not saying this is one, but with domestic violence, I mean, again, it doesn't always mean that she's hitting him or physically abusing him, but in these types of dynamics, from the text messages I saw, if I had to summarize the level of how it makes the reader feel suffocated, it feels reminiscent of an emotionally abusive relationship. And while the trial is another part that we're going to cover, I think the public opinion on this case, a lot of people from what I've seen, they don't necessarily believe that Mackenzie went out and plotted this whole thing days in advance. In fact, a lot of people think that Mackenzie is likely too narcissistic to want to harm herself just to harm Dom. But rather, there could have been a fight that broke out in the car. And in the escalation of rage or whatever emotion that could have come out in that moment, the crash was deliberate. That is how a lot of people feel. That is what they're saying. And I bring up DV not because I'm saying Mackenzie is a domestic violence abuser, but because in relationships, people will behave in ways and do things that they will never do with their friends. It is very, very rare that you have someone on trial for abusing, punching their partner, and the abuser's friends come out and say, oh, they did that to me too, which we will be doing a full episode breaking down the entirety of the 30,000 pages of text messages so that you know what I'm talking about and you can come to your own conclusion. But I think that there could be a world where Rosie and Bubba did not see that side of Mackenzie at all and actually only saw a side to her that would make it hard for them to believe that she could be someone that could intentionally harm Dom. Just like how Rosie thinks that Natalie Sharilla is a really sweet woman. And I actually believe Rosie. In that Natalie Shurilla is probably very, very kind to Rosie. But Natalie Shurilla, by all accounts of the massive FOIA, the investigation, the way she conducts herself after Mackenzie's arrest, amongst a whole laundry list of other things, I think Natalie Shurilla is a completely incompetent parent who has to have, I think, in my opinion, has to some degree played a role in the upbringing of Mackenzie that has ultimately led to this. Which, side note, she's the one that later states that Mackenzie has a medical condition that could cause her to black out while driving, but she also got Mackenzie a license and a car, so it's a whole thing. Which brings me to my next point. I think that after the release of the Netflix documentary, Rosie and Bubba are easy to hate figures in this case. They're parts of the interview that made it to the final cut. You could argue it's editing. You could argue, regardless, they're the ones that said it. It does make it easy to hate them from what's happened with the Netflix doc. I also don't think that they've made it easier for the families of Dom and Davion, whether it was intentional or not. I think a lot of the things that they could have said and done could have really re-traumatized or reheard or reopened wounds for both of the victims' families. I think that they could have handled a lot of things differently. Whether we believe it or not, they state in their hearts that they were trying to do right by Dom and Davion. And in hindsight, they admit to doing some things that they could have done differently, but they tried. I think family members of Dom and Davion would rightfully disagree. But I also do think that instead of focusing on Bubba and Rosie, if you really want to debate the intentions of someone in this case, other than Mackenzie, it's also her parents, Natalie and Steve Shurilla, who actually played a huge, meaningful role in all of this. And that is who we are going to cover in the next part. Stay tuned, let me know your thoughts, and be safe, and I'll see you in the next one.